Hello.
Hello.
Welcome back to the podcast.
From under the bed.
Hi, Dust Bunnies.
Hello.
Hello, Sarah.
Hi, Stevie. Welcome, everyone.
Good day. Today, we are inviting you to come
and
review this podcast
talk
episode.
about
this podcast.
The Invitation.
This movie.
Which longtime Dust Bunnies will realize is the second movie titled The Invitation that we're doing.
I think like our fifth or sixth episode was like our fourth,
which
third.
I still really like that movie.
That was a good movie.
Which, wait, I don't even remember what year that one was from.
It was
Good
like,
movie, different vibes
yeah,
entirely.
I don't remember. I want to say 2017, but like that could be wrong.
That sounds kind of right.
Is it wrong? Is it right?
It wrong? If it's wrong.
But it feels right.
But this one was very different vibes. In fact, has vibes to a different movie we covered.
Yes.
Ready or Not, which
Ready or Not.
Good movie as well.
Great movie.
Great film.
Love it.
But this one had that mixed with like this movie was has everything. Okay. No, but it also it felt like Get Out sometimes, like just like the different components of the story. Mm-hmm. Like so much of it, I don't know. Never boring. Not a second was I not engaged. So, sorry, that was a very quick overview of like.
We'll tell you now. That's how we felt.
That's how we felt.
That's how we felt.
We just saw it in theaters.
Well, yeah, it's in theaters right now. But we're going to dive into it. This movie.
Let's talk about it.
Came out in 2022.
Literally.
September 20. No, August. August 2022, technically.
Wait, was it on the
26th?
The 20? That's how long it's been out?
Yeah, it's already been like a week.
That's wild. That's
What's
wild.
today? Yeah, a week.
That's wild. It's fine. It's okay. That's interesting. Wow. I guess it's got such like I haven't seen much about it though. This always happens though. I'm like, come on, where are my people talking about this? I mean, we see people review it like on YouTube and stuff, but I didn't click any. Stevie, you'll be proud of me.
No reviews.
I wanted to click on a few
Not
of them.
yet.
Almost clicked on Jeremy. Didn't do it.
We will watch this
I will
after.
later. Yeah.
I do want to know what he has to say.
I will later. I want to know what Jeremy Johns has to say.
Jeremy Johns.
He's like, what?
Listen, I'm going to give you a synopsis real quick.
Give me that synopsis. Invite me.
Although, hold on. This is not invite me.
I would like to be invited. What's wrong? Fair child. What is wrong?
This movie was based off of Dracula, like the novel. Have you
Which
read the
I
novel?
have not read. No,
I've read it.
I
took a
funny?
vampire literature class in
the vibes of what I've seen of Dracula. I know a lot about it, that like the original like thing. But like
there is the young girl, but it's not.
But also the way
same.
it's written reminds me. It's not really, but it reminds me of how Frankenstein has that same vibe. How in the beginning it's letters or it's a diary, and then it shifts. It's so much perspective shifting. Yeah. But doesn't it do that? There's a guy letters. Right that arrives, and it's like.
But there are also two women writing to each other.
Right.
If I remember correctly, that might be wrong.
There's a thing on Tumblr
I thought it was
recently.
2 women writing to each other.
There was like a new Tumblr like. AU or something where people were doing like where they were writing letters pretending to be the guy and Dracula, and it was like this whole shipping thing. I feel like I think I might be getting it wrong. I'm still on Tumblr.
I think you said TikTok, but also Tumblr. Yes.
It feels very Tumblr-esque, which we love it. But it was like something where people were like, if you told me I'd be here reading like Dracula, whatever the guy's name is, fan fiction, or like being engaged in the fandom.
Bram Stoker, you mean?
No, it was whatever guy that is writing in Dracula, or who visits his mansion or whatever. Right. It was like something. It was like not a role play thing, and I mean that like in like a pot, like kind of like remember Night Vale? Remember that podcast?
Yes.
Yeah. But it was like something.
Isn't it still going?
I think so.
It's like one of the first podcasts.
But it's like reminding me of that, of like a role play thing where they're pretending to be a character. Was it a podcast? You know what? Someone will.
Night Vale was a podcast.
It's fine. No, I know, but I'm talking about the Dracula thing. I'm like, is that what it was? Me, what?
It was it?
Point is that I get those same vibes. There's a whole bunch around it. Dracula. Dracula. You know who I don't like? Bram Stoker. Bram Stoker? Bram Stoker.
Not Brahms.
His character in the Bungo Stray Dogs manga, if you know, you know. You'll know one day. It's not great. It's not great.
Is he in...
He's in the manga. He's showed up.
Okay, because I'm like, he's not in season 2, and that I'm not on season 3
No, he's
yet.
not in the anime.
So I'm like,
not in the anime
he's
yet.
not in the anime yet.
He caused some disruptions that I don't love. Anyway.
Listen, this movie. So,
tell me. Oh yeah, I forgot you had the synopsis coming. I'm like, yeah.
Okay, so there's no I'm going to give you a synopsis. Basically, a mix of what Wikipedia has to say and what it's about.
And what you feel. What did
I
you
feel.
take from it, the synopsis?
So this movie is about a young woman.
Me, I'm just like a poetry class. Tell him. Yeah.
Snap, 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 snap.
Young woman.
So this bongos.
Young woman.
It's about a young woman who, after her mother's death, she's working as a caterer. She's an artist, right? And then she has a best friend who's also a caterer with her. And
they're like a caterer, but it's not
they're not the owners of the catering company. They're more so
like the waitress,
but they're
or like
servers
servers
yeah.
as a part of it.
But they're doing that in the meantime while they're like, I
think they're in school, or at least the other
one of them's
friend
in school, and one of them is she is an artist. The main character, Evie, she's an artist.
She's trying to figure out like where to go from there. Though. Like,
she's trying to like
her mom
make money while being an artist.
I know now we're just shifting into the overall premise.
Yeah,
and then her mom has recently passed, and so she's literally all alone, quote unquote, all alone in the world, feeling because she doesn't have any living family. Yeah.
So she, at the catering event, she gets a DNA test. She takes the DNA test. Her long lost cousin reaches out to her.
Was that whole catering thing a setup?
I was thinking that, and I thought they were going to allude back to it, but they never did.
Because the premise of you're right,
because he was a rich man, so they were like, he must have been there and gave that to her friend.
It's gotta be, because it was this movie's pacing in the beginning. I appreciated it because I feel like from the trailer, what the trailer revealed. I remember we saw it like when whatever movie we had seen in theaters recently. We saw that and we're like, oh, we're gonna cover that probably. We literally saw it and we're like, it's got the vibes. It's literally a premise. Like, they give it away in the trailer.
Yeah, well, what it is that, so to finish the mini blurb, she meets her long lost cousin. They meet up, and immediately he's like, there's a wedding, come to it in England. And she's like, no. But then she says yes. And then she goes, and then what happens?
She's like, where's the bride and groom? Honey, it's you.
It's you.
Honey, it's you. Yeah.
But we'll get into it.
We'll get into the more stuff about that. But also, you've heard...
They have a dark secret
You might
behind
heard
them.
when we referenced Dracula, there's a few things about...
There's a few things there.
There's a few things... There's many interesting things
many interesting things.
But the thing is that the pacing of this film... I liked how fast it went in the beginning because, one, I'm not saying that they should have expected us to see the trailer because they shouldn't have. But it felt like I was, like, going into it, I'm like, all right, how long is it going to take for her to be convinced to go to England? Honestly, if anything, I kind of wish they had upped the stakes on that because I feel like she should have had a better reason for needing to go. Like, maybe,
I guess, her
like,
reasoning
give us
was
some more,
like
her
she doesn't have any
was
family.
yearning for sure for that. But one, as powerful as that is, it is. But, like, logically more of a pressing issue. I feel like it should have been something more, like, financial.
Because everyone...
You know what I mean? Like, something where he's, like, not telling her, I'll pay you. But, like, something where she's like, look, if I can get this, I can make rent for this. I can do that. I don't know, something...
But he was definitely... The cousin was definitely playing on, like, the fact that she had just lost her mom. Yeah. And he was also, like... He's like, well, your mom wanted to... Or she's saying, my mom always wanted to take me to England. So I feel like it was that thing of, like, let me try to be closer to her.
It's just wild to me just thinking about staying at a place. Like, it'd be one thing if he's like, let me fly you out. Here's your hotel accommodations. Yeah. The fact that she was going to stay, she did, this mansion... Yeah. I don't know, man. I would be freaked out.
I would have been like, can I bring my friend? Like, I wouldn't go by myself.
This is how people get trafficked. Like, what? I would have literally been like, I'm staying at a hotel, actually. Like, I know that the whole point was like...
Yeah, for the wedding.
But still, I don't know.
Listen. Okay, everybody. We're playing a game that we play on this show called Sarah Guess the Ratings. Title pending.
Title forever pending.
Okay. Guys... Sarah. So
guys
and Sarah.
My tea.
We have 4 ratings. Oh yeah, let's take a sip. Everybody, if you're listening, take a sip of whatever you're drinking.
Take a moment, but only a moment. Take a minute.
That's a reference too.
But only a minute. Ready or not.
Ready or not. Anyway. Okay. So we're gonna do IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes, Metacritic, and then Google users.
And Google users is the only one that's no.
IMDb is out of 10. The rest are out of 100.
Okay.
Which one would you like first?
Let's do IMDb first then. To say, okay, out of 10.
Out of 10. What do you get? So if you guess it between 0.2, you get a coaster. You won this coaster last time, but I've got 4. I've got like 5 of them. So this is the second one that you might win.
Right. I'm going to say they gave it a 6.5.
5.3.
Okay, I was almost going to dip into 5s, and then I was like, well, maybe it's not, because every time I want to be more brutal compared to not what we think. Okay.
We're going to go with Metacritic next.
Okay, out of 100%.
Uh-huh. Actually, you know what? Yes.
Metacritic is so random. Hold on. Like, as a concept. I'm like, okay. I'm going to say 62%.
45%.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, not expecting that. Now we're gonna do Google users.
All right. Now I'm still. You know what? With Google users, I'm gonna say 71%.
68%.
Okay.
That's 3% off. You don't win the coaster, but maybe we'll see because it depends.
I was so close.
You're definitely close there, so you might win it depending on how you get.
Except we will not be chopping it in half. So what's one to do?
I might give it to you because now we're gonna do Rotten Tomatoes for all of the tomatoes.
For all the tomatoes.
For all of the coaster.
All the coasters. Okay. Rotten Tomatoes is so strange.
She's a finicky one.
64%. It's no okay. How dare you? How dare you?
I'm not laughing at you.
I should have gotten the other one.
You will get the other one.
Thank you. That's all I care about.
Are you ready for this?
No.
20 out of 100.
I would have never in my wildest years guessed that.
Never.
I was like,
never.
the lowest
That's
I was
why
possibly
I'm like,
gonna
you
go.
get the coaster because you were 3%.
Cappuccino.
Yeah, my cappuccino.
What is the other one? What is the stop. What is the
wait
Ratatouille? I did this for nothing. Oh wait. Yes.
Okay.
My diet Dr. Kel. That's what it was.
Dr.
It's not the
Kel?
Ratatouille. I bought Ratatouille for nothing. It's the same tone.
How am I supposed to eat this? Now I want pizza.
Can't 20 something.
You're 20?
You're 20?
Yeah, 20%. It's flat. Listen, I'm going to tell you right now.
Let me tell you something.
That opinion, Rotten Tomatoes,
wrong. I don't need your opinion.
Wrong.
Doesn't make sense.
Yun?
I'm not saying it's like, okay, we have many things to say. That doesn't make sense.
Listen.
It literally in no way was something that could have been perceived as like the awfulest movie you've ever read or seen.
And even the
that's weird.
Even the audience score is 59.
Is everyone okay? Like, for real? Are y'all
I
okay?
had a good time.
I had a great time.
I don't understand.
Okay, let's
go over the cast.
Let's go over I don't get it. Let's go over the cast. Let's see. Okay. You know what? We'll go through each of them. Each cast member. Okay? We're going to talk about every cast member and how, or not cast member, but the character. So, our main character is Evelyn Evie Jackson, okay? She's played by, her name's pronounced Natalie, right?
I think so.
Natalie.
Because there's an H in it, but I think it is
Right, I think it's Natalie Emmanuel, which we will know as Daenerys' friend from Game of Thrones. Oh,
I was like, I know her, but where do I know her from?
I always get it confused because it's Missandei, which is like similar to that Missandei character, the red Scarlet Witch. You know who I meant, the red witch or something. It was such a similar name. It's Missandei, but if you know Game of Thrones, you know how it ended in general, and so you might know her fate as well. She was also randomly in a supporting role. I remember this in Maze Runner, like the last 2 movies, and I was like, she's great.
Saw it.
And also she was in Fast and Furious, a few of those. She's great. What? She was in the West End production of The Lion King in the 1990s. I wonder if she was. I wonder if she was like young Nala or something.
Yeah, maybe.
Wow. Anyway.
Listen.
Love her. So, as a main character, loved her. I loved her.
She was great. She was
I thought she gave everything without it being like overdone. No. Like it was not like they were forcing her upon you to be like, you need to like this character. She's your protagonist. It was like, it never felt like that. She genuinely felt so authentic. Like even just how she treated, like a big component of this movie is like classism kind of. And like, they don't really go into it as much as I kind of wish they had. Like I wish there had been a more revolving plot around it. But it was more about like, showing one how she obviously feels out of her depth like while she's with all these rich people, and like racially too. It's like, or what's the right term for that, like just in general, she's like, those are just a bunch of old white people.
Yeah,
like,
she basically was just kind of like, are you treating me this way? Because...
Yeah, like also it was just a weird thing because she was constantly feeling not ostracized, but also like almost like made a spectacle of.
But there's also there's
and like
also
a charity case
where,
also kind of because they're just like, it's okay, and it's like, are you okay?
Yeah,
like,
but there's also a part with like the maids.
Well, right. Well,
and
so she feels that way.
Like, well, because there's a part where like relating to what you're saying, like she knocks something over, and then she meets the lord of the house, and before that she meets the butler, and he's very rude to her, but when the lord comes over, he's like, it's fine, this is one of our important guests, and she's like, so what does that matter?
Yeah, so she's
like, you
very much an advocate.
Like shit just because they're not on your quote unquote level.
Exactly. Which also what you're like, it's almost like the butler being like a part of it is like, well, also he's very much, it reminds me sometimes, I feel like that would come out on Downton Abbey sometimes, where it was kind of like some like workers will feel like they have to be so ingrained in that way of thought, and it's like, what? Like, you don't,
or like
your subordinate or your coworker
yeah.
doesn't need to be treated like crap just because you think that's the dynamic. Like, what? It was weird. But she clearly comes from a background of also being like, I'm a server, I'm someone.
Yeah, she's
and
like,
then
we have to stick
throw
together.
in literally the fact that she's like a woman of color and like so much stuff about it. She's like, can y'all not be this way? Which, like, again, I feel bad because she's constantly like, these people are this way, but like, I'm just gonna tough it to figure out what's going on. Like, you know what I mean? Like, she's very chill, but also will not stand up for the others and herself. Like, she doesn't let it go
the whole time too. I like that she's just not like, okay, she's just like, you're rude.
Yeah, and she's like, and she never does it in a way either where it like oversteps it to they're like, okay, well, now you're just being aggressive against,
they do
which
it
she
first,
has every right to
then
do.
she'll
honestly.
be like, I'm not gonna put up with that.
Right, matching the energy.
Yeah,
matching the energy. But like, so she feels that way, and then also she sees these like other servants that are feeling that way too, probably. So she's literally like, hello, I want to be like, I'm treating you like a human because
she even like is like speaking to them, like asking their names and stuff, and they're like, oh yeah, well, my name is this. Like, they like they don't feel like anyone's ever asked them that if they're their like their like boss.
It's like that thing where celebrities will do that in interviews where they like shake your hand, ask your name, even of course they're not going to remember it later, but it's like, you're a human, hi, nice to meet you. Like I'm blah 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 first name because I'm a human too. You shouldn't just automatically, like, I don't know. It's amazing. So I'm like, felt like that's the energy she gave off, where she was very much like, hi, and they're like, oh, and it's like, you don't talk to the help like that. It's like, excuse me. But you're right. I loved that moment of her just being like, what does it matter if I'm the guest of honor?
She's like, okay.
It changed. Oh, you're going to.
Like, she's one of our important guests. And she's like, right. But you, even if I wasn't, you can't treat me like this, and you can't treat them like that.
And how dare you? And it's funny because they constantly bring up how much of a klutz she is. Like, she's constantly. True. Someone behind us in the theater, when she like was in his office snooping, when she breaks that thing, the lady behind us was literally like, she's gonna drop everything. Like, the way she like, said it, it was like, this girl drops everything, and I'm like, that is true.
She
but
does.
If there's something to drop, she's gonna drop.
She's gonna drop.
If there's something to spill, I'm gonna spill it. Literally. She just constantly is dropping things, which is funny as a server. Like, she's got very good balance, clearly. Yeah. So it's funny that she's but they bring it up. And she's an artist, like with a wheel, like she does ceramics, which she points out, not pottery.
Like, it's not
ceramics.
pottery.
But she does ceramics, and like, she's got steady hands, clearly. It's more so she just like runs and drops things, whatever. But yeah, so she like, there's this whole dynamic of that where she's just like, why is everyone treating some of the servants really badly? Like, more so than even just like ignoring them, it's also just being like, you're not, you're less than. It's like, calm down, like, what the heck. But that's the whole dynamic with that. But also, like, she just always felt authentic and also like logical for the most part. Like, you know, it's a scary movie, like, you know, it's got the vibes of like a, not campy, it's not campy, but it has moments. So it's like, if she does something kind of dumb, it doesn't feel like, girl, like, she's, I don't know, she's always reacting the way I would assume for the most part.
Yeah.
And her style.
Her outfits.
I loved everything she wore.
Everything she wore. Her piercings. She had a little septum ring that was so cute. I love like the little ones.
And her friendship with her friend.
She had a best friend.
Literally, it was so.
And they were so cute.
They were so
And
precious.
she would be like FaceTiming her throughout the movie, being like, her friend was like, don't
That's
talk
why
to
it reminded
don't
us
trust
of Get
men.
Out, the way we were just
because
like.
There was one like
It was a
comedy relief friend, and then the more like straight straight and narrow, I guess.
It was so funny. But I like how at the end she's like, I've always been your side. That was so cute. But they're just great. They're great. And so I love her. The only thing I will say, I still think I wish that there had been, maybe it's just like more of like a can't relate when she's like, oh yeah, I'll fly to England. But it's also because we don't really get to see her like contemplating stuff. She's very much like,
she's like, no.
The pacing is like there. Like there we go.
Yeah.
All right.
It's true.
So, next up we have Walter DeVille, which again, I'm like Cruella. And we're just constantly like, you mean Cruella?
I know, anytime it's a DeVille, it's like, unless Phil and Lil DeVille.
Oh my God, I forgot that was wild.
They were
wild.
Not evil. We love Phil and Lil.
Played by Thomas Doherty, I think that's how you say his last name, of Descendants fame, of ex-boyfriend of Dove Cameron fame. That's all. No, he's great. But he played Captain Hook's son, Harry Hook, in The Descendants 2 is when he makes his premiere. And also he was like Ursula's daughter, Uma, played by what's her name? China.
I still have to watch.
But that what's my name song, and he's like he has a little rap part of it. Basically, their dynamic was so cute. They're not like him and Uma's character because he's like her sidekick person. Mm-hmm. I love it. He was just like they're each other. Like it was just adorable.
That's interesting. He's her sidekick in it.
Yeah, because like I know it's like they how they whatever. But
sorry, look at this photo.
Not part of her crew. She's a pirate. You know what I mean? Why would you show me that? Why would you? Here's the thing. Oh, it went
guys, listen. There you go. There you go. Look at.
Also, what are you doing?
Look at this man. I know if you're watching on YouTube.
What are you talking about?
First of all,
why are you doing that? Here's the thing. Here's our initial visceral reactions to this man.
I've not seen this man before because I haven't seen Descendants yet.
What if I pulled up?
It's on my list. But listen,
I'm not saying I ship him with China's character.
We haven't gone over Crush Corner.
Do I?
And listen, I have a crush on her and him.
Who's her? Oh, her. I thought you were talking about Dove Cameron for a
second. Yeah. No, Evie. But
what's my name?
The thing that this man does very well in this movie is that at the beginning you are so charmed by him. You know going into it that this is a villain. But the first half of the movie, or pretty much more than half, right? 2/3.
Yeah, it's like for a good chunk. I feel like we're watching not a rom-com, but like a drama,
like a Jane, right? Like more of like but not a Jane Austen, but like a dark Jane Austen. Look, I'm at a loss for words. Okay, I am at a loss for words. Despite being at a loss for words, men often, but when I do, I was just like, I can't even look this screen straight in the eye.
Why do they ever blurt out? Can we talk about?
Oh my God!
What's going on? It's literally like I don't know if you can see the ring light. I can't. But anyway, listen.
But yeah, so. Anyway, I was like, I can't even look the screen straight in the eye. Half the time I was like, I'm gonna pass out because like he's like heavily flirting, right?
Present,
but like
okay. But let's establish why we feel this way because it's not like we're like, oh wow, love this man.
Not just because he's beautiful.
It's because initially. Again, my first impressions of him when I would see him in real life, like not Descendants, not other stuff, I was always just like, yeah, he's very attractive.
Yeah, he's attractive.
But I genuinely didn't feel that
in this movie.
But I didn't feel that pull towards him. And also like I don't watch a lot of his whatever. And I was like, okay. So when I saw that he was in this, I was like, yeah, he's attractive, but like
even in the trailer, I was like, all right.
He's cute, but like he's gonna have to sell did he sell? He literally waltzed into that first scene again where she spills stuff. We were literally like the whole time Stevie was just repeating under her breath. You were literally just like, I can't.
I literally was like, I'm gonna pass out.
Like I was like, are you okay? Like I thought you were talking about something else at one point because I was like, are you talking about this? Are you having moments about a man? Like are you feeling something?
I don't.
You literally were like, I gotta lie down. Like I was like, are you okay?
I don't know. It's the air. It's like because okay, so like we said. Bram Stoker, Dracula, okay. But when you have like a vampire,
the way he talked, the gentle tones, the docile tones.
Listen,
he literally would be like, "Oh yes," blah, blah, blah. Like it had
the side smile. Talking about Tracy?
Are you talking about the vampire, like the Dracula, like seduction side of things?
Right? Because they like they draw you and they seduce you, whatever. And I feel like they did
succubus.
For the whole time that he was like, he was trying to like draw her in and
that's
being
the
quote unquote
right?
good
she
guy.
Fell for him.
She fell for him, which is like, I feel like she was just being seduced.
Which
because
also,
she has
if they're going to force her in the end anyway, why'd they even need to do that?
It's better if you come willingly.
Yeah, but
right?
why didn't they do a transition? Like,
right.
Okay, hold on.
Well,
yeah, but why didn't they make it more seamless then? They made it more of like, anyway, and it's like, what? Couldn't you have asked her?
Well, because he's saying...
I would if I were him.
But no, because he had to get her to say, yes, I will marry you, even though the fine print didn't matter. They did, because he said. It's kind of like...
When did he say that?
Because when he said... will you marry me, right? And she said, I will, jokingly. But then later she brings it back up and she's like, I wasn't being serious. Like, not at that moment, but later when the maid. And he's like, well, lucky for me, fine print doesn't matter.
Wow, I must have been like blacking out at that point, being like, what's going on? There's too much. Okay, fair enough.
Because it's just like when you invite them into your house, right?
Yeah. I did think it had to do with the similar thing. You're right. But still, you're right. I feel like he could have sat her down and had her have a bewildered, like, what do you mean? As opposed to like, watch this.
It was like,
it's just wild to me that he didn't even have a moment of like, would you want to do this? Too bad if you don't. Like, okay. But I don't know. It's just, whatever. Okay. You were saying something about him, though, I thought. Was it about his presence?
I think it's that where it's like what we were talking about is that he does the second we were saying, because he turns from being like this seductive, like good guy, right, in her eyes, to being like, moment. Well, anyway, I'm gonna we're getting married.
He looked hot when he was lounging when they first are starting that weird dinner. And he's got his little pocket watch, and he was sitting like this, and he looked like a villain, honestly, right there. But he was sitting like that, and he looked really hot doing that. The moment she walks in, he gets like predatory eyes. We literally, I just switched. Like, what is it? I just switched a flip. I've just flipped a switch. Literally, he became. We were like, ugh, like he gave us the ick after
the second that he went, all right.
Yeah, like hello. Like he made an announcement. I was like, I'm not attracted. Yeah, he like he was like, come over here, as if like she was asking questions of like, oh wow, okay,
all of a sudden,
and he's like ignored.
It's like he's a 10.
Yeah, but he's after you. Yeah, literally
he's forcing you to marry him for the bloodline.
Yeah, he's about to murder someone in front of you. Yeah. Like literally the way he's got 2 other wives. Like he straight up. We gotta do a meme of that. He's a 10, but which I know that's the meme cycle is short, but that one still lives on. Too bad.
The invitation.
Truly though. I can't. He just, and also he the way he treats her though after that.
Yeah.
But before she like revolts.
Because then after that, even though he's like, oh my love, it's like, no.
But even in that moment when he's making an announcement, it's like he no longer is attentive.
He doesn't respond to her when she's saying things.
Because not just because he's seductive in many ways of being charming, saying exactly the right things. He comes and apologizes to her about the mix up with the butler. And he's saying it in like a very authentic way, but also he's like, I hope you weren't offended. And she's like, well, I was. And he doesn't respond like, well, you know.
No, he's like,
oh my gosh, well, I'm going to let him know that, like, again, like I'm going to talk to him about it. And she's like impressed. Like it's like, I know we make jokes about like the bars on the floor, but she was impressed because she's like, people who I've known like you would never want to, like, you know, like it's
because
like him going
joking at first. And he was like, oh.
But he did.
I'm sorry. I didn't want you to get like. I hope you're unoffended.
Right.
Thinking that she was gonna be like, no, it's fine. But when she was like, no, I was.
She's
He's
like, no, that was awful.
Like he was taken aback, but in a way of like, oh wait,
I'm glad you told me almost.
This.
Yeah, like I'm glad. So he's like, let me fix it, and like just.
But
the way
like he did say also, he's like, I'm doing all that to her. He's like, I'm not a good guy.
Yeah, and well, like, which is funny. Before she pointed that out, I wasn't getting that vibe of him being like, "I'm such a bad man."
Like,
I did get the whole thing of like,
not the bad
I know
man
I'm
thing
rich.
Either. Yeah,
like more of like I'm a rich boy, and like I know you hate me. Like I kind of
or like I know I sound.
He didn't overdo it though. Like it wasn't off-putting. It was like self-awareness without being like, okay, then what are you doing about? Like it was just very much like, listen. We all know that rich people can have problems too. There's different types of problems and like sadnesses and things. And she pointed out all the things without minimizing. Like obviously he's like, all the money in the world. And she's like, only rich people, you know, say it. But it's true. And it is true. And he's like, yeah, it is. And she's still kind of like validating him, being like, no, it's true. But like, tell me why. Like, tell me what you're going through. When they had that conversation in bed, because he's doing all the I would become a vampire. No, literally, when he felt
Sarah. So the whole time, you know, they're having their thing. They're making out at times, but like all like progressing in a way that you're like.
It was very
it
natural.
Was quick, but natural.
One night, but not one night, but like
a couple
short,
days.
but natural.
They have some wedding events for the quote unquote bride and groom that are gonna get married. But then they aren't anywhere to be seen. We've got 2 bridesmaids.
Okay, yeah, they announced
and then like,
there's 2 maids of honor.
Maids of honor.
Because they have like that weird little what do you call it? Not
Russian
weird.
dolls.
I like those. The Russian dolls. There's a name for them.
Nesting dolls.
Is that it? Yeah. Love them. But like
love them.
But it's like he's like, "Oh, that's like a thing for the bachelorette party or whatever." And it's like, "Oh,
it's
we
a
have
gifts from the
maids of honor." And she's like, 2. And he's like, "Yeah, there's 2."
The maid.
Oh yeah, the maid's talking about that.
Because she gets a maid when she gets there. Yeah. She shakes her hand.
Yeah, and the maid's like,
where she's taken aback.
She's an elderly maid as well. Yeah.
She's Irish.
Yeah. Oh, was she Irish? I didn't even realize. Wow. Oh,
I think so.
But she's like not. It's funny because she's like clearly cares. Like she doesn't treat her badly. Like I mean, the maid is not like bristly to her. Like she's never like, oh, keep a distance. Like she's just very, like, and she even tells her like, don't wander around at night. Like, what are you doing?
You can tell that she's like, oh no, like I hope that this girl gets out of here.
Yeah, or like I hope she's okay and happy about what
okay.
her life is about to be or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, it's interesting. But real quick, what I was going to say though is about like the way he doesn't just seduce her in like a charming way. I feel like he has really openly intimate moments with her, and that moment where she has like a nightmare. He's
quote unquote vulnerable.
Yeah, like obviously,
but he's also very forward.
Right. We're gonna get into more of like the spooky aspects, obviously. But at one point, she sees like a figure above her bed on a tapestry thing, which is like a ceiling tapestry thing.
I think it's because it's a
Is that what it is? She sees something terrifying
like
up there.
Canopy bed.
And that's why I was like, I relate to this girl's reactions because she just flung herself
You were
off
like,
the bed.
valid response.
Valid. She just
fell over.
Although she goes underneath it, and I'm like, well, the person would know you're under there, so you're not really safe there for long. But when he he stays the night with her in there just talking to get her to go to sleep. And
which was cute because she was like, listen. It was very cute. They draw you into the romance of this, which is like usually
I thought we were just watching a romance, you know?
I get annoyed sometimes when I'm watching a movie and sometimes there's like too much romance or it's just like I'm like ugh, like I don't know, I do like romance and rom-coms and stuff like that, but I don't know, sometimes I'm like, okay, is this really like I don't know. But for this one I'm just like I feel like they do a good job of I don't know. They bring you into it.
He was so good at making it. They're both great at it, but I just meant that he doesn't feel like a forced upon cheesy situation. Like it feels so natural. They clearly have chemistry.
But I think it's cute when she's like
that moment though he says something, I'm trying to remember, it's like she's starting to fall asleep though, and I was almost waiting for him to reveal something
before he lies down. He's like, you want me to stay with you? And she's like, yeah. And she's like, anyway, do you have a preference? And he's like, what? And she's like, from the side of the bed. Like, what side of the bed? And he's like, oh. And you can tell that he was not expecting her to like
to let her
he thought probably she's gonna I'll sit in this chair over here or whatever. And he's like, oh. And that
or on the foot of the bed kind of thing.
That whole part, I know that he was like playing an act, but I did almost feel like there were genuine moments. Or he almost
felt like I can get along with this girl, or like she's
when he
likes me. Is
the part that you're gonna talk about when he's sort of talking.
Right. Well, it leads into that kind
of
because that statement, like just saying that he has a moment of like, wait, she like likes my presence, like she likes me being with her, and I feel like it leads into the fact where he asks her, he's like, oh, this is a kind of a forward question, and she's like, you're in my bed, it doesn't matter, and he's like, what do you want out of your life? And she gives this whole response about, you know, she's like, well, the right answer would be like, I want to be an artist, like, you know, I want to live my dream of that, but also she said, what did she say, like, I want to be like, she's like you're saying the thing that she's like, I feel like I'm supposed to say that I want to be like a working artist, but what I really want is to throw caution to the wind. And that's it. Be able to live without
without caring.
Like right now, I'm just making it by trying to live day to day. But then when he gives her answer, which the whole point is to try to get her to go to sleep, so it's not like she's just like, anyway, let me sleep. So you're not. I don't care. She starts dozing off, and he has like, I feel like his answer's authentic though. Because he starts saying like, I don't want people to see me and use me for weight. Like I want to be seen and needed for who I am, not.
He's like, I want to share this with somebody, all of this with somebody,
but not because of like the concept of me. Like everyone has an idea of me, which is like, you hear that. I mean, that's about anybody who has status. Like they're like, I'm not an idea or a concept. I'm a human. And he was saying all this, and I felt like it was really real. And it goes back to him being startled by her being like, I just want you next to me, as opposed to like, I love this mansion. This life is promised to me now that I'm with you. And I'm like, I feel like he genuinely felt that, and he probably doesn't have that from his 2 wives who are just like, as much they might be infatuated with him.
I wonder how their situation.
I wish we had gotten a glimpse into that,
because they probably knew him as like this lord and stuff, and she was kind of like, I'm fine living my life the way I live it. This is all very extravagant and everything, but like I'm happy being independent and like living in New York, where she's from, and stuff like that. So she's not there for the money at all. You know?
Right. She's
whereas
like,
they might have been like, not that they were. I'm not sure about the first one, but Lucy, who's very sweet, she was saying
these are the 2 maids of honor who we find out are his 2 wives.
Yeah, so he has 2 wives, and so there are 3 families, and there's 3 bloodlines.
It's a little bit convoluted.
It is.
Because there's the British Alexanders, which is what Evie's a part of, or her descendant. She's a descendant of, which we find out. So the beginning of this movie shows a woman who is like living in that mansion, in the mansion of Walt.
It's even though it's like a creepy.
Yeah,
it's creepy. It
was
beautiful.
gorgeous. Remember, I was like, I would live.
I know,
here.
you're
It's
like,
gorgeous.
I low-key
a low-key. This is like gorgeous. Like it was haunting without feeling like terrifying. Like it just felt like a cool place. But she was there, and that same butler, evil butler, like came to her door and was like, "Mom, you must eat. You haven't eaten." And she's like, and she looks spooky because she's just in a room by herself.
And there's no bed or anything.
Yeah, and she like moves really fast. She's kind of terrifying because we find out that because she's a vampire too.
Yeah.
But like she runs, and she's like trying to run away from them, and you can see that all the servant bells for the rooms are going off. People are like, "Where is she? Well, stop her! Stop her!" She like takes one of the wire things and a bust and makes sure like she hangs herself essentially, and she's like, "It ends with me." And
she must behead herself because the only way that you can kill them is stake.
You're right.
Beheading.
Maybe that's why she. I guess.
Or fire.
You're right. It must have cut
because
that
wire.
That
that's what she needed herself to be so heavy that it would like
actually cut through. It was a thin wire too, so, like the clay thing she uses later.
I feel like it was like
It looked thick. I don't know.
It was thick. Yeah. I feel like more thick than that, but still like
oof. But
not rope. So
clearly
it was something
works,
that would like. Sorry, graphic.
Yeah. But anyway, she does that, and we don't know who that is, but we find out later that it's his wife, one of his 3rd wives that was from the Alexander family, the English one, and it's the great-grandmother of Evie, because the way the family split. Is
it great?
I think so, because she said your grandfather was the baby that was born of the servant. So that woman, the great-grandmother, had an affair kind of or something, which I didn't know she could have a child as a vampire, but whatever.
I thought it was before.
Was it before?
But maybe not.
Because she has it with a servant. They don't know.
But it was that. But yeah, I don't know if she was with him yet.
Oh yeah, and
it might have been right before.
Maybe because how does she already have a baby? It might have been a scandal. They called it a scandal because they're saying that happened.
Yeah, they don't. That's true. They don't say whether or not it was when
maybe
she was
it was
a human or not.
And
I think
then
it was.
How did she have the baby and him not be like, you had a baby?
And nobody in the town clearly questions how they've lived forever because they're all like.
I guess feel like they're all in on it.
Yeah.
But like I know it's like Beauty and the Beast. I kept thinking like, is this
because he took the baby her grandfather took. I mean,
and ran with the baby.
Great grandfather.
Her great grandfather took her grandfather and ran
went to the town to raise the baby,
and then like to America at some point, obviously, right?
Somebody went to
America, but
somebody
went to America. But that's like we find out that woman essentially is her great grandmother, and she was like, she stopped eating because she was like, I don't want to eat, because what they do is they eat random servants, like they hire new servants, which you'll remember. When she was snooping in the office and she finds
there was
files on those servants. Yeah. So I don't know they didn't really go into what they look into, or if they're like trying to figure out.
They could have gone into a lot more, and they did focus a lot on the romance.
Yeah.
And they could have focused on.
I wanted a bit more
backstory on
maybe
some
they
things.
Found servants that don't have families. They don't have, no one will miss them, quote unquote. So it's like they find that, and it's
maybe
probably because she doesn't see that. She only sees a file that he had printed of her. Like
I know she definitely got distracted and was
which
like,
I remember
what's this?
I thought that she was gonna figure out that they had. Like, first, I didn't even think she was actually related to them, but I didn't realize that that's genuinely what they needed her for.
Yeah.
Like, they weren't just like, we need a random woman. Like, they were like, no, we need you. So, like, which is why I'm sure they set up that DNA stuff. They had to make her be like, oh, yeah, there's my family. Whatever.
Yeah, but then how would they know that was her?
You're right.
Also, we should have, like, an actual little, like, trophy stuffed animal thing just to be like, I won it, and have it behind you, like, or something.
My winning case.
We'll do a little dust bunny.
Oh my gosh. Just put a bunch of fluff together.
We're gonna make it.
It'd be so cute.
Anyway. But yeah, no, I don't know. That's the thing, because like, yeah, we're thinking she just so happened.
And why now just recently did they
You know
find
what
out?
though? You know what I think though? I think that they own the DNA company and
they've been scouting forever.
Yeah,
that does make sense. Because once you pointed out that there was that key.
The key, which was like,
and that's the key they have to their, like, you know.
Find who you are or something.
I don't know.
Their slogan was like
the whole place, which is wild though, because like.
Because he was definitely
Which they've been waiting 100 years. They've been waiting forever. What?
He was in town. Because he was like, oh, I'm here on work. Because
he must have been there. Though? Like,
that's what I'm saying. He was in town, but I'm saying he must have been at that party handing out goodie bags of that thing. Because
or maybe he flew immediately and was like, I'm here. What a coincidence. And it's like, he's like, no,
that's true, but then how would that get there? Because you know how they were like talking to a bunch of like rich people who were like,
no, I meant, oh, I see. But that's like the company might just
party,
work for him.
I wonder
if
she would have. Yeah, you're right.
Like,
could have been somebody else that worked for him.
I think.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, we didn't see him there, but I'm like, either way, his quote unquote company must have been there to be like.
That's wild, though.
But I wonder if they knew where their great, like, whoever it is to him, his uncle, I guess, right? Because that's her cousin, right? So if that's her grandpa and like her family.
Oh yeah, it like broke off into the way. It's so
I wonder if they knew. Okay, they must. I think they moved to this area.
That's confusing though, because how does that work? Oh, you're right.
Like,
it's weird though, because is he related to the DeVille family though? He's gotta be.
No, he's related to the Alexander family.
Yeah, I know, but he's a descendant, and they come from that same woman. That great grandmother is also his great grandmother. If you look at the DNA thing.
Yeah, but she's not a DeVille. She's an Alexander.
Yeah, but she married. Who did she have?
Did she? I mean, she did, but she was still a DeVille because technically.
Did she have a kid? So I need to look at that family tree again. Did she have a kid with the Lord of the Manor, which was him?
I don't know how they have children. I don't know. They didn't. Okay, here's another thing. They
don't talk about how
they don't talk about how they reproduce, because they're like, we need another female heir, right?
And they kept making that they're like, we've had so many boys, like, and they were like making it sound
because I think though, okay, so they have 3 different families. They have Alexander, besides the DeVille, because DeVille is not. It's just him, basically.
I guess.
And so they have the Alexander. Hold on, let me find them. They have 3. Mm-hmm. And so
they have the one that Victoria's from.
They have Victoria as the head wife, right? I guess the matriarch line. Then they have Lucy, and then they had Emily, whose name is actually Emmeline, and I thought it was Emily.
Oh, wait, hold on. Now I've got to look it up again.
But he makes a speech, DeVille, what is his first name? Walter.
I forgot. Remember in the credits they just said DeVille?
Yeah, I remember, because he would he would leave her letters. It was like, here's a dress. See you tonight, Walt. Remember? So he had.
Listen.
So oh my God, she wore a dress that was so beautiful. It was like backless. What I always think when they do that in movies, when did they get her measurements? Were they just eyeballing?
Right, and it's so perfect.
They never had a moment where they like measured her, because I feel like that would have been normal for them to be like, let's just get your measurements.
They'll be like, we'll have
they should have had a scene.
We'll have things.
They should have had a scene about that. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, so they have 3. And hold on, please hold, because I want to get their names, and this is important to me.
I see. It's saying that the Alexander family had produced only boys since the birth of Emmeline. So it's like, that's why they were like, we need a girl. And then they figure out, wait, we do have the descendant of the one that ran away.
Well, because I think what it is that, like, okay, so they have 3 families. I've said this 7 times.
No.
I don't remember what their names are, so let's just give them names. Let's just say the Smiths. We'll say the Alexanders.
Victoria's is definitely a Swedish or something. Not Swedish, Bulgarian?
Oh, something. One of them is from Budapest.
Oh,
they say.
Really? Okay.
And one of them is from where's Lucy from?
I don't know.
Because she has an English accent too, but she's
right.
But she's not from England.
British in real life.
Okay. Give another last name just so I can explain this.
Now it's the hardest thing I've ever had to do.
Okay.
McElroy.
Okay, we have the
Now I'm scared to use that.
Okay. So we have the Smiths, we have the Alexanders, and then we have the...
It's really hard, isn't it?
Jaeger. Jaegers. Okay.
That probably works in some sense.
Okay. So basically, like what you're saying is that I think the thing is that these families exist on their own, nothing to do with nothing to do with him.
They provide a wife every time they provide
a wife.
So for the exchange of, I forgot it was for the exchange of prosperity, protection, and power. For all three families, essentially.
Say it again.
It's like they
prosperity, protection, and power. Mm-hmm. So that they can stay powerful. Yes. The families themselves. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I'll protect you, you protect me, and then they give the wives immortality.
I guess
and stuff
the reason
like
it's these families is because they made a covenant about it.
Yeah, so they made a pact.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, is that like it's not like he's having babies with them.
Right.
It's that
just like they need this one eternal the families will just everyone else ages, I think, after a while. Mm-hmm. That's fine. But
then they'll keep having children, blah blah blah.
Blah blah blah. And
but
if
because
something happens to that wife, they'll have a woman that can take over.
Be another
but it's odd for something to happen. It's like, I don't even know why it would really happen, but because of Emmeline,
they live. Victoria's been with him for 500 years. Lucy's been with him for, she's like, only 100.
I know. So
and then Emmeline,
which again,
we point out
that it's like Lucy and him never interact. Like, I didn't even think of them.
Lucy is so sweet, she's so cute. She's like,
literally like, I want to be your friend. Like, let's go. And while Victoria, which let me go into, hold on. So Victoria is played
by Stephanie.
Stephanie Corneliuson. Stephanie Corneliuson. I like her. She's a Danish actress. It says right here she was best known as Joanna. I don't know if it was Joanna, like if you know how they pronounce
Johan.
It was like Joanna. It's like Joanna, mm-hmm. But like I feel like it was pronounced differently in Mr. Robot with Rami Malek. She played like the wife of one of the like villain guys that would always be like, "Bonsoir, Elliot." Did you ever watch Mr. Robot?
I wanted to, and I still haven't.
Christian Slater. And,
Christian Slater.
I
like you said Christian Slater and not Rami Malek, but you did say Rami Malek. It's
fine. It was good. I don't know if I finished the last season though, but I liked her in it. And anyway, she's got a presence. Tall, elegant, confident, carries herself.
She reminds me of, if you've seen First Kill, which rest in peace because Netflix canceled it. But anyway, the older sister, whose name escapes me at this moment. But anyway, she's got that vibe. She even kind of looks like her, but blonde. She's blonde in the show. But and then they've got that vibe where she's like I'm gonna be like,
first off, you're gonna be intimidated by me. I'm the first
wife. Yeah, and you need to be in line because I'm gonna be the head.
You will be intimidated by me.
Yeah, you will be intimidated. You're kind of right. And Lucy is like,
she doesn't falter. Like Evie is very much like,
because they walk into the. Say Lucy.
Oh, Lucy's played by Alana. Alana Bowden. Her middle name is Evie. This is Alana Evie Bowden.
She's so cute. She looks very familiar to me.
Now, what's funny is she was in the Lifetime film I Am Elizabeth Smart. So she played Elizabeth Smart.
That was a Lifetime film?
Apparently.
I remember that movie. Yeah. Skeet. And what's her name from the main actress from that is
her.
Oh, her. She looks like Dakota Fanning in that photo from here. Let me see. She does look like Dakota Fanning. What? She looks like, if you saw it and you're like, whoa, that looks like Dakota Fanning, but it doesn't look like her in that movie. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
I feel like she looks more like Elle Fanning, honestly.
Or Elle Fanning. Yeah.
Because Dakota Fanning has such distinct like eyes and like the way they're set.
That's true. I never thought about that.
Anyways,
I'm like, you're like, that's literally.
I'm like, you mean
she
the
and
title
the
character?
Other person? It's her.
And have you seen Lady Bird? There is no title. The title character is the storm, the tempest.
Oh my!
It was so funny. But I'm just thinking of that with like, who is she? The title character, Elizabeth Smart. I am.
I literally thought that was one of the Fanning sisters.
That's funny.
But even here, so it describes her as like more of like a puppyish. She's like, oh, but she's so kind. So when they walk into the party of like, it's like a
rehearsal dinner,
and they're like, and the maids of honor, and they walk in and Victoria is towering, like you said.
Literally so tall.
Just as tall as Hugh Skinner, who plays her cousin, who also plays...
Okay, last person. Hugh Skinner plays Oliver, the cousin that lives around. Literally, this man, the way he was in Mamma Mia, he played
young... Colin Firth.
Yeah, Colin Firth. He's always this like little like I would love to see him in a different, like, not because he's not I'm not saying like, oh, how dare he never play.
In both of those movies he played a similar
role. It's like, I mean, I would love to see him in a different role.
And he's in Fleabag.
You told me that.
He plays her girlfriend.
But I would love to see him in a totally like daunting role, because I'm like, I need to see this man this way, because it kills me. Because he's just like,
he could play creepy well. In that way, that's like a little unhinged.
He could be a serial killer like on a show. The way that her friend was like, that is the whitest man that's ever existed. Her friend was like, it's so true. He is the most British white man.
His name is Oliver Alexander III. It's okay, so funny. The third.
He did a good job with that. He was like, anyway, and he just like fades into the background and then at the end he's just like, sorry.
I know it sucks because he is like her like confidant almost. He's like, hey,
and he does genuinely treat her. Nothing he does. Yeah,
although he does push her a lot and is like, your name is Alexander now, and she's like, it's Jackson.
And then when they get there and she's like, what? My turn to do a speech? What the heck? Like,
yeah,
what?
everyone's like, so.
The way you pointed out too that the maid, what was her name again? Oh my gosh, what was her name? I have to find it. The nice maid. That's hers. Let's see. Was it Grace? That doesn't sound right.
It was... That's not it. It says her name is MME Swift.
Oh, wait. Mrs. Swift. Yeah.
MME.
MME.
I'm like, what? Mrs. Swift.
Yeah, okay. I did see that earlier, and I was like, wait, it's not Grace. Who's Grace? I don't remember. Oh, is that her friend? I wonder if that's her friend. Grace. Courtney Taylor. Great.
Why is she not on this list?
I know. But Miss Swift, like we're talking about Taylor Swift, okay.
Miss Swift,
I feel there, she mentioned something about how the windows are barred. And she's like, it's for the, what are those birds called? The sky. Remember how her friend is like, what the heck is that? It's something we've heard before.
Not skirt, but it's like something like that.
Yeah, skeets. Like a sky. Oh my gosh,
skike or something.
Yeah, something, and one of the birds like flies against the window later on and terrifies her.
What is that?
But also,
they just have that there for what?
They're like, what was it's it? What was the cannibal? Not cannibal. Carnivorous something she mentions where she's like, oh, it's these birds. Is that them though?
That's them.
But is that like? But that's not the same thing as when they kill themselves by accidentally running into the window.
That was one. I feel like those birds were...
So they're carnivorous in the sense that they attack humans.
Right?
Like out of the blue, like the birds, literally, the film. They're like, anyway. I thought that was more of like carnivorous in the sense that they'll eat other animals. Like they're like, okay, we'll tear you apart.
No, because she was like, they took that boy's
Okay, that's
eye
what I was going to
out.
bring up. That you noticed that. That was funny because she mentioned that about how a little boy at one point had gotten his eye taken out. So yeah, they are carnivorous. They're like, anyway, human. The patriarch of the Alexander family currently is this old man with a huge eye patch. And when you mentioned that, I was like, whoa.
I was like, wait a minute.
They never talk about it.
Here's the thing. What is the point of those birds?
I know.
The bars are for not that then. I feel like the bars are for something else, but they're like, it's for this.
Like in? Like to make sure she doesn't escape? What?
Maybe because they were keeping the grandmother in there so she wouldn't leave? But isn't she strong enough to just
that
like
bird
punch through?
Took his eye out unless... Did we see her do something to somebody when she was escaping?
Who?
Emmeline, whatever.
Just the butler.
Hurt anybody except for scare the butler.
Yeah, just the butler.
Because it'd be very interesting if she was the one that took his eye out. That'd be really funny. And
that
maid is literally, which we find out the maid was her friend. So it's sad.
So she was like, why? Because the whole time too, you're like, why is she here? Mm-hmm. And then she mentions that she helps her because the whole time she's very worried for Evie.
Yeah, she's like, don't go around at night. Because at one point at night, she wakes up to see that all the maids that they had just hired, which again, they label them on their shirts 1 through 5. It's like, okay, what? Which it looked cute if it wasn't so dehumanizing. Because it was like, what? Like on their little collar, it was kind of cute.
I think it was on their apron.
It was on both. I noticed that it was on both. Yeah, it was at the bottom of the apron and at the top. We're like, cute if it wasn't the worst thing in the world. But like,
I'm like, it was on both.
Out of a van as if they were standing in it like cattle.
Yeah.
Which is a clear sign. But at night, she's getting water. She has a bunch of moments of like having dreams, seeing things, freaking out. But she's getting water, and like she sees that the evil butler is down there. Who is he played by? Do we see his? It doesn't even say who. Mr. Field, I think. Sean
Julius. His name is Scott Alexander Young.
What? That is not who I have on here.
What?
It says his name is Sean Carl.
Oh, M. Field. Wait, these two men look the same. Look. Who's that?
Oh, no. See, he's right there.
Yeah, I saw that, but who's that?
Oh, isn't he the guy with the eye patch?
No.
Yeah, I think so, because it's on
this man?
Yeah, but they made him look way older, I think.
No.
Click it.
What?
Click it. Yeah, look at him. You're telling me that's not the eye patch man? Type in the invitation.
No.
Why does invitation?
Because there's nothing on this movie, I swear.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway.
Yeah. The butler is like, because she's like, what are they doing down there? He has the maids lined up. And Miss Swift is like, don't worry about, like, don't go about at night. It's not safe. She literally tells her that.
She's like, stay in your room, please.
They're just getting their assignments, which I'm like, is it not 3 a.m.? Like, what? Because she's jet lagged. But I'm like, hello, why is he assigning them stuff at, like, middle of the night? And he's like, okay, anyway, number 2, go clean the library, which he has told Evie is off limits / it's under whatever. It's actually Walt's, like, office situation library. So that maid goes in there. We see the maids get assignments, whether to get a bottle of wine at one point at the dress rehearsal. Like, they go together.
I want to know how they got this job.
But that's what I was saying. What does the job application look like for this? And also, that's what I was wondering. And then I'm like, do they know? Not do they know that, but like, what? And then we were like, why is he so hungry?
Do they know that
No. But like, at one point, though, it was weird because when they were getting assignments, it almost felt like they knew that something was weird, but not that they were going to get like eaten.
Yeah, they're like, this is weird. Anyway, puts on headphones.
That's why I was like, hello? I'm like, were y'all just like, let me just get a job? Got a job.
There's no light.
Like,
what?
There's
no lights. They're just like, we're just going to light the candles and keep going.
Yeah.
Candles again.
Literally that Stan Lee of the in Spider-Man where he's just listening and then they're having the fight behind him.
They're
like, anyway. But she's doing that. And remember, this happens again and we're like, why do they need 3 maids in the span of like 4? Like, how hungry is he?
You know what's funny?
All 3 of them. It was the 2 wives and him.
For real. I'm like, you're like, they're going to run out of servants.
I'm like, hello? Well, one by one? What's going on?
But it's interesting too because it's funny because there are 2. There's one that Evie like connects with. And she's
when they
cute.
spill the stuff
What's
in the beginning.
D? It's like Dee
she
Dee or
spills
something.
stuff. Like, she connects with her because she literally, even when they break the thing, she breaks them. But like, she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. She's like, what is your name? And it's like, that's the moment where she's like, oh.
But there's a part where what's his name? Mr. Field. He calls her, I don't know what her name is, but her Evie's fave. And he's like, okay, they're requesting this wine from down in the cellar. And there's 2 of them. And she's like, you need both of us for this? And he's like, he said something that we didn't understand.
Yeah, someone in the audience also was like,
besties.
Someone in the audience was like, what? And it was like that thing where like, I feel like the American response to hearing a British accent so thick that you're like, that
but he
English.
mumbled, okay?
Yeah. Also, I just realized he was Alfred in Gotham, the TV show. And I'm like, I have seen this man before. Not that I watched all of Gotham or anything.
God.
He's been in another. He was in Elementary. What?
Oh.
He's been in things. He
looked The Reckoning.
He's scary, but we like. He seems like a good
but
actor,
he. But when they go down there, it is creepy as hell. Yeah. So dark. And I was like, sorry, are you kidding me? I'm glad. I would not have wanted to go down there by myself. So I'm glad that he sent both of them down there because yeah.
And also, he says like a weird Latin incantation.
Oh yeah.
Why?
Every time he sends one of the maids to their death.
He says like an incantation, and at first I thought it was him like awakening something. Why is he praying?
Is he like secretly speaking into a speaker so that they're like a microphone that like
they certainly don't?
Or do they have superhuman hearing? Because you know how vampires are like that.
How would they not know someone's there? Like, they're going to know.
Right.
Also, I feel like it's him saying, like, I feel like he's one of those people that's, like, high and mighty and clearly in charge of this thing and knows that he's safe, but also he's willing to just demean and dehumanize all the other servants. And I feel like it's almost him doing some type of prayer in Latin to be like, and my job is done. Like, you know, like, he feels very, like...
Or does he have to be like, if I say this prayer, then I won't go to hell or something?
That's what I mean. Like, he's like, I'm maintaining the family's... everything, because we see later when she's escaping at one point, she goes into town, sees this old couple that's helping her. We see that they have a photo with him and the rest of the staff on their I don't know why they don't work there anymore. Are they too old?
Maybe.
They were like, you did your job, thanks, bye.
They're like, we'll let you go.
Yeah, but clearly he's revered as like the head butler across, like he's that terrified me. I feel like he's like revered as like the head butler over like all of them. Like, I don't know. He's just constantly been there throughout the ages. I don't know who was before him, because I think they all age. They're just considered protected by this, whatever.
Yeah, they age. But they're like, we have, like you said, we're wealthy.
And I don't know. He's I was gonna say something about that. Oh, I just feel like he's doing some type of weird incantation to just kind of be like, but not me. I'm better than everyone. Like I don't know.
You were saying that the couple in the town.
Oh yeah, but I meant him when he's doing his prayer thing.
Oh, okay, I think
the couple they're just
also so when Evie gets
they're loyal to him is a thing. I wasn't thinking of that. But
they're loyal.
Now I'm thinking that's a good point to make. That it feels like they all have loyalty to him, and it's like this man. Anyway,
him who
the butler.
I feel like they just have loyalty to...
Well, maybe the Lord as well. Yeah, okay, you're right. But it's just weird that that photo was up there. Like, that she sees that clearly to clue in that they're evil as well. But it's like...
Oh, because he's, like, in the middle.
He's in the middle because he's clearly the head of the
household
I
didn't even
staff.
notice that, like, DeVille isn't in it. But it's like, he's, like,
it's
the head of the
photo,
staff.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I guess that's true.
But anyway, you're saying...
like, no, they...
You're like, no,
maybe.
well, yeah.
No, I was just saying that. Is there anything else we bring up besides... I just wanted to mention that they lock her into the they lock her in the coffin and stuff. Oh well, like
because
that.
Once we have that, I knew it was gonna happen. I feel like they hinted at it in the trailer when they have that weird dinner that we alluded to at the beginning of how he transforms into a icky like predator kind of man. DeVille does, and they're like anyway, and they have this huge feast on the table, and then he's like. So now, time to announce, because she's like, where are the bride and groom? Like, we have still not seen them.
Her dress, so beautiful. It's red.
Feathers.
It's like a red wedding dress. It's so beautiful. And she comes in, and she's like...
And he got that for her, obviously. They like sleep together. They like make out a lot. They sleep together. Like, they progressed.
Sleep together. There's a moment when he's like, why don't we just make it a double... This is when... So he says, why don't we just make it a double wedding? And she's like, haha.
Yeah.
Okay, again, we're just going to have a shotgun wedding. What?
Yeah.
And there is also a moment right before they sleep together where she finds like a file on her, like you said, in his office, and she's about to leave. And she's like, and he, like you said the whole time, you're like, he knows exactly what to say. But it was also very valid because he's like,
I was going to have some woman in here sleeping in my place.
He wasn't even really mad either.
Yeah, no, he wasn't.
Just kind of like...
He's like, you got to see my reasoning.
He's like, you have to see, like, my side. Like, I do want to get to know you past, like, the bullet points on a paper. And I wanted to get some background on you because it said, like, no criminal record before I let you sleep at my house because Oliver's the one who's like, hey, this person's coming. Like, he's like, I didn't seek you out. I didn't know who you were. And so
I don't use technology,
I needed to know.
He printed it, which printing stuff does seem weird, but like it's not any different than if you just had it on, stored on your phone.
I know that he... All right, I'm kind of a bad guy.
I guess I'm a bad guy.
But he's like, we all Facebook stalk people. Okay.
Yeah. I thought she was going to be freaked. When we saw that she found those, I thought she was finding out that I forgot that she was a legit relative. So I was like, is this fake? Is she finding out that they rigged stuff? And I was like, I would be freaked out being like, how did I get lured here? That's why she's leaving. But I didn't realize it was because he had a file of her. I'd be like, that's not weird, but it'd be like, I didn't need to see that.
But then that's why he's like, well, I don't use Facebook, so he printed it for me.
And he sent it to me, and he knew that I'm not going to open the thing if he sent it to me. So he made it sound so logical because in a way it kind of was in that aspect. It is
because like if someone's going to
come stay in your house, if she was that freaked out that he just looked up where she worked and stuff, like if that's public knowledge.
If there were photos of her like from a
that's what I thought that she was gonna like
from
find.
far away,
like
ones that she didn't know about, then that's a whole different thing. But it was kind of just like what anybody would do of like,
so calm,
is this person
explaining it like you said? He wasn't like
slow to
you have to understand
like you always say,
slow to anger. One requirement. The way that he was not like at all being like, you have to understand. People take advantage of me all the time. He said it in such a logical way where he's like, I've had people like stay here and
come here,
figure out and it's like, I don't know, he just seemed very, and she clearly,
which is like it's I don't even like saying that, but it is like I don't even like being like, nah, he's got a point, but he does
in the context of that specific situation. He does, but
you're right. And so they sleep together and that's when they make this beautiful moment.
He was
beautiful moment.
Everything.
It was nice. It was beautiful. And that he was nice. But then he had I have no problem with Audi belly buttons, but I made a joke because he has an Audi. I didn't hear you say that. I said that. I was like, what? He has an Audi? Forget it.
He does?
Yeah. But
who has an Audi?
Like John Stamos.
Really? And I don't mean that in like a gross way. It's just I always assume everyone has an innie. And I feel like usually it's kids that it turns. I feel like I had a semi Audi.
You know what?
And then it turned into
that, like,
an innie
I feel like as a
older.
kid I would see people with more Audis.
Because it's the way your body forms around it. It's literally your umbilical cord changing like the stem of it.
I never thought of it as just that, but that's interesting. Yeah, because I feel like, I mean, anyway,
it's weird.
No problem with it. I was just joking.
It's just like you hardly see
it's
adults.
Cute though, because it's like a button. It's like a legit button when you're just like a belly
button. That's why when I was little, I feel like it was like everyone's was more out.
I didn't. I've
not
always
like
had
a full out, but it's like kind of more. And then as I got older, I was like, it's disappearing. Like, I literally
belly buttons. God.
Okay? Random side note. I remember seeing that Erica Titus, who we talked about earlier today, we love you. She made a TikTok about how it's sometimes. No, she responded to somebody who made a TikTok about that feeling where if like something brushes against your like nipples or like against your chest, I'll just say your chest, you get this feeling of like not guilt because of like a weird sexual kind of thing. No, it's just like this weird nostalgic feeling and like a guilt feeling, and it's like you feel alone all of a sudden.
What?
And she was saying someone's
Wait,
like,
I've never felt that.
And someone was like, I feel it when I'm like, it's when I'm traveling, like if I'm in a hotel and I get out of the shower and I'm all damp, and all of a sudden I feel they're kind of describing anxiety almost in a way where all of a sudden you feel like a sinking feeling. And someone else brought it, and I feel like it also has to do with like someone's like, I always thought it was homesickness, which I think that's definitely a factor, like when you're just in a different.
So I just want to say that when you're saying that, I'm like, what? I'm like not thinking that's weird. I literally am like, what? I've never heard of
I think
this.
it's that feeling of just like when you all of a sudden are somewhere that's not familiar and you're just like, I feel off
vulnerable
about my whole life.
Like you're just like
like vulnerable, this guilt feeling of like, it's almost like when
guilt is an interesting word. I think that it
sometimes I feel that way when I get dehydrated and if I'm in too hot of a shower. If I get that sick feeling of like feeling all of a sudden very like
you're gonna pass out.
Yeah, and I feel almost guilty about like feeling flushed because I feel flushed for no reason because it's hot and like I feel dehydrated. Guilty? I use the word guilty because I feel like I have a very in tune feeling of guilt because of like my intrusive thoughts I like have dealt with before and like how that can inflict guilt upon me.
I've definitely felt things where you feel a certain way and you do feel guilty and you're like, why do I feel guilty about this? Well, that's why I use that word
guilty loosely because I felt it more intensely
or like
with intrusive
shame
thoughts. Yeah, more like shame because guilt can be tied with like specific thoughts and feelings that you're like, oh, I don't like this. But when it's out of the blue, I think it's more of like a shame feeling of like, why do I all of a sudden feel like I did something wrong? Or like it's anyway, point is that I bring that up because there was a reason I brought it up. Oh, someone pointed out that like it's almost that feeling you get, which I have a different feeling with it, when someone pokes you in the middle of your belly button.
I've tried to tell. I've wondered if other people feel this, but like if I'm ever cleaning out my belly button, it's like it feels like you're taking. That's why I was saying I have different feelings associated with it. Not a guilt thing. I have a thing where like if I got poked, like if someone did the thing, or if I do it, I feel like my innards have been moved around. Like bad because it's literally where your womb was. Like you were connected in the womb. It's there. Horrible. It's dare I say where you were stitched together. It's literally everything comes from this one place. Who isn't it? Winnie the Pooh. It's like Winnie the Pooh. He gets stitched up. His fluff is out.
I'm just saying that I literally, if I've ever done it to myself, or if someone needs to do it, like jokingly, I'm like, horrible. Don't do that.
No, but it's painful. It
feels awful.
I'm glad you're bringing this up because I meant to like either Google it or like ask somebody or be like, is there something wrong with me?
It's not when you just because, like touch it normally. It's when you're cleaning it out or when you even just are like, someone possibly does it because they'll do it more forcefully.
Yeah, but to the point where I'm like trying to like clean it properly and I can't. It's like I have to stop because I'm just like, this is.
It's almost like you're peeling something off of your skin because of how painful it is. It's like an uncomfy feeling, and I think that's why people are associating it with that same thing of like not necessarily the guilt shame stuff, but it's that
why did you
uncomfy because of his belly button. Because to me, that can only happen when it's an innie. Like an outie, I feel like you wouldn't feel that same sensation.
But are you just vulnerable all the time?
No, I'm talking about when they poke it.
No, I'm saying, is it more vulnerable because they can like
no, because I think that outie is more of just like.
But it's still that. It's just further out because they cut your umbilical cord not as close to your body. Though, that's why it's an outie.
Wait, what? Say that again.
It's an outie because they cut it differently. That's why some people have outies because the innies, they cut it more close to your body, and outies, they left more umbilical, like that part or skin or whatever you want to call it. That does make sense. So do they feel, if you have an outie belly button, please let us know because now I'm curious. I've never thought about this
because I thought it was just your belly button. You can still see like
this,
the stem. This sounds so organic, and it's like it's our bodies.
The stem,
but you can see it, and that's the part that's out. The button. When you're seeing, the button. Like that's where you see it outwardly. Outies are wild to me.
Look at my belly button. My innie,
not on camera for free.
No. My innie is so like in. This is weird. Is this weird?
Mine is not like a depth.
Talking about
you can
this
see inside my belly button. Like if you
mine,
pull it,
I literally
I
can,
like
but it's like a fucking cave.
It's like a
I'm
void.
literally like, ugh. Which is why cleaning it is like a whole production, because I'm just like, to get like as far in as I need to. That's why it like hurts. I'll see
other people's belly buttons and be like, wow, theirs is like a literal hole like that you don't see anything in.
Yeah,
like it
like
literally
mine.
Looks like a little like. I don't know.
Let me look at mine.
It's so funny.
No,
I can't do it from this angle either because it's like everything's going to be.
Hold on.
It literally has been
20-minute belly button intermission.
You know how like when it literally has been like, I'll send a photo of it to you later. No, I'm kidding. Out of nowhere. What is this? It's
OnlyFans belly button edition.
Point is, only belly I didn't realize you had an Audi.
I literally said that. You didn't say anything. I was like, I didn't hear you.
She don't even know. I did not hear you. I would have reacted very viscerally. I would have been like,
belly button corner.
I can't.
But yeah, wow. Okay, well, I'm not alone in that, but it still makes me sad that it makes me uncomfortable to.
It feels like such a vulnerable point that no one ever brings up in movies. No one ever stabs someone there.
Sarah,
I know.
New fear. Stop.
I know.
Stop.
As if stabbing anywhere else would be any better. I'm like, well, don't stab me there. Stab me elsewhere.
Oh my god, I can't even think about that.
So they have this together, okay? Because he not on her, she doesn't know, but like,
yeah. So she goes. He's like, let's have a shotgun wedding, basically, and she's like, what? No. He's like, well, all the arrangements are made, jokingly, and she's like, all right, fine, I accept, and he's like.
Yeah, and then later he
immediately
gets up,
because he's got that like
goes,
Grinch.
Yeah, and then she goes, which is funny that she even feels the need to clarify, but she's like, I was joking, right? And he just gives her a grin,
and then he just does like a cheeky smile, which then, again, by all accounts, charming and adorable.
She gets ready. That's when they go to the dinner thing. Then it's revealed once he like is basically transformed as a person, totally different. And he's like, anyway, thanks for everyone being here. And then she's like, so like, where's the bride and groom? And he's like, anyway, guys, thanks again for being here. I would like everyone to be like, what he says something, and then he's like, for the new announcement of my new bride. And he literally just announces it.
Yeah, he's like, oh yeah, thanks for reminding me, guys.
Literally, again,
we will be married today. And
yeah,
she's like,
and then she's looking around. They bring the maid in to pour the wine. I knew it was coming from the trailer because they did something without showing it where they just bend her over the thing. They slit her throat, which thank God they didn't show us the details of it, which I don't think they could.
A lot of the time they don't show it. They have it like in the peripheral. Yeah.
So we saw like a blurred out version of her.
And you hear Victoria be like, oh, thank God I was famished.
Yeah, and she's like I'm getting bored and like stuff. Yeah, and like she was like,
because up until this point we don't know
who's a vampire, who's not.
And this is when we find out it's just them three.
Yeah.
And everybody else is human.
Yeah, because they only poured that for them. I realized that everyone else had other stuff.
But they do that thing where they show like people eating food in a
grotesque way.
Like,
was that just her being panicky
was, like,
and sick,
freaking out? Because I feel like she was just sick.
Were they really eating like that?
It's kind of like with Denethor in Lord of the Rings when he like eats the food and
it's just a grotesque kind of.
It's just a lot.
And also, I think sometimes people eating meat can give people the ick.
Yeah, and the meat
from, she probably in the moment of seeing this woman murdered.
Wait, he's in Gossip Girl too?
Who?
Thomas Doherty?
Oh, in the new one. Yeah, he is. I forgot about that. He is in the new one, which I think it got renewed, didn't it? Wild.
I don't know. I've never seen Gossip Girl.
But, which is why, again, he's like 30 and people were like, and yet again, they're still hiring people who are older to play like 15, 16
I forget they're supposed to be in high school because I never
watched it. Seems more like a college, like even though it's prep school, like, or, private school, it just feels like a campus level of, anyway. And also, the original Gossip Girl, they act like it's fine. It's fine.
They act older. Is that what you're saying? It's like with Euphoria.
And it's like, is this what New York high school is like? But then I watch Spider-Man, and they felt like kids.
Yeah.
But also, I feel like they're in Queens.
That's nice because you think a lot of the time in newer media, like with Euphoria and stuff like that, I was talking to Mandy about it, and I know everyone talks about it because like you're like they're dressed like that, like it's always are they going to a club or whatever, like, and they're always like they're doing sex,
Euphoria
they're having sex, they're doing drugs,
type of,
but you know how they have a lot of movies that are like that, even with like Pretty Little Liars and like, which Pretty Little Liars wasn't as intense as Euphoria in that way, but it's kind of like, what are you guys doing all this?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I like
at this age.
But then when you watch like coming of age movies, they really do show.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. They do a mix of it.
They do.
But
okay, basically though, she sees that maid getting killed. She's having the panic attack. Honestly, not just sitting there either. She has the moment of freezing, but then she's literally like, you know what? I need to get out of here. I gotta get out of here. And like, they're not letting her, obviously. But then we go through a series of events of like, she runs away, effectively does get out of there for a little bit, runs into town because she locks the butler in that weird storage room area. That doesn't happen yet, though.
She let her go.
But that happens.
No, she was the one who she let her out because they
have her.
They chained her up. They put her in a coffin. They
explained to her. The two wives explained.
Lucy was like, "It's okay. Like, you know, we resisted first too.
But women were different.
Things were different for women back then. So obviously they were like, this was our best option. But like, we'll be best friends. Just like, you know, Emmeline was a good friend, but she got confused and
she didn't want to eat the people anymore. Yeah.
But she's so sweet.
I like Lucy.
I know.
But then they put her in a coffin. And then Miss Swift.
Because Victoria's still. This is when she realizes too. She's like, "What? It was you in my room that night."
And she's like, "Anyway," but then Miss Swift lets her out. Miss Swift.
I forgot again. I was like, "What's her name?"
She's like, "Please." She's like, "Your great grandmother was a dear friend of mine, and like, and it's cute because I like how she's just like, well, what'll happen to you that you've let me out?" And she's like, what I deserve.
I'll get what I deserve.
Yeah. Which it almost reminds me, this is random.
Because clearly she's like, I'm an accomplice.
This reminds me of the Beauty and the Beast thing, like the live action. You know how it added more stuff to the story?
I fell asleep.
Okay, well, it added more stuff to the story. And it was this whole thing about how the Beast had like an abusive father and stuff. And it was this whole thing of like, she's like, anyway, then when this happened, and then when obviously all of us got turned into under the spell as well. And Belle is like, but you guys didn't do anything. Like, why? Like, I get that the Beast turned into this person, like, and his dad was bad, but why did he turn into this? And she's like, but you guys didn't do anything. And Mrs. Potts is like, you're right. We stood by and did nothing. And our whole, like, while he was getting abused, like, we all just did, which obviously like Chip is not responsible. But the adults in his life are. Like, so it's kind of like, I thought that was an interesting take of like, yeah, wait.
Yeah, right. The children are.
Yeah, but Chip's like, what? But it's interesting because like that's the first time I've ever pretended that the household has some type of not accountability, but kind of like it was.
We're like that's the first time.
Like I don't know. I thought it was interesting, but it reminded me of that book, the way she's like, I'm gonna get.
Maybe in the book, I don't know because I never read the book either. I wonder if they ever went into that then.
Maybe there's a lot of subplot or a lot of different changes in the live action.
Yeah,
you should see it again.
I should.
It's interesting, but yeah, she. What was I gonna say? Yeah, she lets
she goes into town.
So she's running away, but then that's when she puts the butler, because she finds that they kill Miss Swift, of course, and then she locks the butler up, and that's when she runs away into town, like you said. Then that's when she runs into that couple.
And then they're like, they squeal on her, basically.
Like, we'll help, let's call. And that's when they realize at first that she's there, because they think she's just someone on their door, and then she's like, no, I came from the manor, and they're like, oh.
They're like, all right.
And then she sees the picture with the butler of them, and they used to work on the staff, and presumably they just got too old, and they were like, okay, retire. But then he's like, drink the tea.
Drink the tea.
And she's like, and then I love it. Anytime there's an opportunity, she's like, you know what? I'm going to hit these people over the head. Or I'm going to throw the tea on him.
I'm gonna.
And they knock her out, which I was like, what? That old woman was fast. She was like, anyway. She was. So then the next thing we know, she wakes up in like that kind of like sitting room area where there's a maid next to her. Oh, yeah, okay. In front of a fire. She's in his office,
but this is when
this is the only part that I was like, what is going on?
Where are we?
The only part, because she's like kind of like dazed.
Yeah.
Did he poison? Like, did he give her something?
She got knocked out.
I guess, but then she passes out again while he's like eating the other girl.
Yeah, it's true. But I don't know. That's true. And the other girl is dazed too. They must have like drugged them somehow. Because of
blood loss.
Oh, you know, that's true. This is when he goes over the fact that like I feel like she asked him some question of like, "What are you?" or something. Which obviously she knows he's like, a vampire.
"You're clearly a vampire, but like, dude,
but what's happening?
Like, what's the deal?"
Yeah.
So
he's like,
"What's
so
your backstory?
Tell me about yourself." Yeah. Mm-hmm. There is a part earlier when she's like, "So what about your parents?" He's like, "Well, they died." But that was a long time ago. And I was like, how long? How long?
How long you been 17?
How long you been 17? Mm-hmm. No, but this is when he was like.
He did say that. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Me humanizing him.
He did have parents. Or did he?
I think
and
he
who
must
were
have,
they?
Right?
Who turned him? Where'd he come from?
How do vampires work in this
because
world?
He was.
The only thing we know is that they can go out in the sun.
I like when they set up the rules, but they didn't really.
They didn't really.
And that frustrates me.
I think that's the one thing. We'll get into that with our ratings, but just the pacing. I'm going to bring it back up again. Not that it's a flaw per se, but it means that we miss out on a few things.
That's true. It's good in some ways.
Yeah.
But he's like, you know, over the years they've called, in this country they called me Nosferatu, and they called me this, and then she's like, are you saying that you're, and then he's like, ha ha ha, blah blah blah, and he not like that, blah, blah, blah. Not like that, but I meant blah blah blah, but it did sound like that. But basically she's like, are you saying you're Dracula? So like, anyway, that's how old he is.
Essentially,
he's literally supposed to be Dracula,
the basis
like
of every myth.
Dracula.
Yeah, of everything. And it's like, what?
But then it's like, how many
vampire?
If you are
the vampire.
Yeah, he said they called me this here, and I forgot what the first one was, but it wasn't vampire, but it was like,
yeah, it was. He listed off a different.
But
we're like, okay.
Then I always wonder, because Dracula, isn't he the only vampire like in the story? Because he's like the OG, right?
Wait,
and so
who's it? Van Helsing is in Dracula, right?
Isn't he the vampire hunter?
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
So is he in that?
Is he the one writing the letters?
Am I thinking about...
Is he the one writing the letters?
I know, no.
It's not.
I think it's because he contacts the Van Helsing family or him at some point.
You mean Van Helsing from Mom's Got a Date with a Vampire?
LOL. Also, I'm thinking of, what's the...
Liz McGuire's dad?
Stop. Exactly what passed through my head. But also, I'm thinking of the... what's it's not an anime per se, but
Castlevania?
Thank you.
Okay.
Because it's like Alucard. There's all this lore with Dracula that's continued by other things that isn't like quote unquote canon with the original, but it's like kind of continued all a part of the, So I'm just, I gotta go read Dracula.
We gotta watch the one from 1992.
We could do,
Gary Oldman.
But more importantly, Keanu Reeves, at least in a little bit of it. Listen.
And Winona Ryder.
Well, the most important.
Hello, more importantly.
Gary Oldman, I feel like he's sus a bit sometimes.
That's the thing.
Listen. Okay, so she gets brought back, okay? Basically when he's saying he's all these things. That's where we're at. He's saying he's all these things.
He's saying he's Dracula.
Out. When she wakes up, isn't it when she's getting walked down the aisle? The lace is in front of her.
Yeah, so she's getting walked. He's like, anyway, see you.
But
he also said you could make your life so much easier.
Like, just
and
go
he insults her again by being like, girl, what is this life that you even had?
Yeah.
Like, this is a leg up for you. And she spits in his face.
And also, again, he's over here like, if you didn't fight it. And it's like, why didn't you, again, present it?
That's what you were saying. You're like, couldn't you have, like, made this look enticing?
Yeah, or been like, listen, like, bring up the help stuff later. Be like, bro, I need you to join me because I need another wife. And like, what if you wanted, I don't know, just present it in not an alarming way.
Like, you could have done it in a more, like, had more finesse with it and been like, hey.
Instead of like throwing her into a coffin and being like, please,
I guess maybe because he's used to people being like, yeah, of course I want him. Whatever. Apparently, because maybe the other ones were like, yeah, this is my only option. Like, I'm going to do this.
Yeah, because when women had no other options for...
Plus, they were part of that large family, so maybe it was more
they kind of grew up into it. That's fair.
And maybe he was just
or they've maybe alluded to how there's something. You're right. She didn't grow up with the family.
So she's like, what? Yeah. He probably just doesn't even know how to, like, approach that.
Maybe so. But it's
also, Anthony Hopkins is also in Bram Stoker's Dracula. Sorry.
Oh, is he really?
He's Van Helsing.
Luna, are you going to be in the show?
Luna, say hello.
Oh, my gosh. Hi,
Luna.
Da-da-da-da.
Wait, is he Van Helsing?
LOL.
It says he's... Who is he?
Doesn't Keanu Reeves play the character that we keep thinking about?
Jonathan.
Yes! Sorry, that's the name.
And then Abraham... Is his name Abraham Van?
I thought it was...
Is his last name?
Anywho.
Anyway.
She's getting walked down the aisle by the guy with the eye patch because he's like the patriarch of the Alexander family. And so then she's getting up there and she's remembering her mom's words from a voicemail, her last voicemail she has of her mom. And it's so emotional. But she's just like...
her friend who's like...
That's true. Like, she's remembering all these words of like kind of like hyping herself up. Yeah. Being like, you're stronger than you believe. You're like... Which is like the Pooh Bear
Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah. But she's like, all these things. It's like, you can do this stuff. And she has a flashback of Miss Swift when she broke that candle. And again, another thing she dropped. And it had like a dagger kind of thing where it held like the wick, whatever. And so she's remembering all this, seeing the candle.
Because she told her too, like we were saying, she's like, if you come across one of them, you can only kill them by beheading them. Stake or fire.
Yes. Very quickly tells her all that. And
she's like, now go.
But see, the thing is that I was not expecting her to let him turn her into like a half vampire situation.
So basically, yeah. She literally, he's like, all right, drink. Because they're like, yes or no. And she's like, I do, basically.
Yeah.
And then we
were like, what? And then she's like, he gives her his blood. So it's like they both have to drink each other's blood to become the most vampire.
So like actually become a vampire. Yeah. So because
she drinks his first, drinks a lot of it. He like gets weak from it for a second, which I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
And he like kind of stumbles over from it and he's like, wow, that was a lot. You'll have a chance to drink more later. Like, calm down.
Probably because obviously no one drinks his blood ever except for during the ceremony.
She becomes very powerful in that moment, instantly turns into like whatever you want to call it, like almost halfway there to being a full
pretty much
she's a vampire, which later on Victoria calls her halfling because I guess the ceremony wasn't complete, but she's a vampire. In that moment she like is approaching where the dark priest is at or something, because like what it is, there's also a maid that's one last maid that's alive that they were going to eat, and they chose her as like her favorite first like feast.
Dee Dee,
but not the. I thought the one of her favorites was also the one that died in the wine cellar situation.
That was her. She got taken away, but she didn't die.
Oh, that was the same one.
Yeah, that was the same one.
I didn't even notice.
Yeah.
Or I literally in my head,
one
that
of them
one
did die.
Okay.
They snapped their
neck. In my
and then
head,
the other one got pulled
that
back.
one was literally
a different one.
Like I was like, that one died. And that was, okay, that makes, okay. So
which I don't know why they were just like, bloop.
I know. I thought that it was one of them eating her,
Weird.
but okay. Well, they were like, we'll save her for your first like feast, essentially. So she's approaching her, and you can tell she's already been like sucked and everything at one point. So she's approaching her, and then she smashes.
She smashes all the candles.
Smashes.
Everything's on fire.
On fire immediately. The priest is dark priest
He's
is literally on fire. She unties, or she cuts open, like she basically cuts open the frees that girl. I think, I don't know if it happens first, but she takes that dagger from a candle, stabs it through DeVille's heart.
Walt.
He immediately is starting to age.
He's like, oh.
We were expecting at first
back,
for the other
the two wives come.
They're like, oh, the one time I see Lucy even
he immediately
have contact
like,
with him, literally.
Right.
But she's like, oh, and I'm like, okay. And I thought they were gonna disappear too, but it's like he's not dead yet though,
alive.
because even Victoria is like, that's just a flesh wound.
Yeah.
I'm like, but he is.
But he's definitely
old now. Something's wrong.
Aging. Backwards.
So he's dying.
Not backwards,
like, hello,
quickly.
Benjamin Button, but
yeah,
not.
right.
It's not. We're like, you mean normal aging, but
normal
fast?
aging. Yeah, because it's like, obviously if someone gets stabbed, they're gonna die, right? But depending. If somebody gets stabbed in the chest like that, the way he is, right? It's like a normal thing that even a mortal would die. But also, I feel like it's that thing where it's like the reason. It's been in other things too that it's reminded me of something where it's like the reason this person died is because they're aging super quickly all of a sudden because their vampire form is like
gone.
Like
right,
their,
that too.
Their humanity
right.
maybe might. Well, he's still a vampire, but you know what I mean. Where it's like part of him dying is because he's aging so quickly.
Right. That's what I thought for them too.
Yeah.
Like the moment that he dies, the reason it's like it's this whole thing that he holds the power. So if he dies, everyone he turned and stuff will die too. But it's like they become human, and then their rapid aging is what kills
like that
them.
In because I know some werewolf lore and stuff like that, like in Supernatural, I guess it's like if you drink the blood, something about getting the blood of the werewolf that turned you before like you first feed or something like that, you can turn back into a human. But I wonder if there's other vampire lore, because I feel like other times, like the vampire that turned you, if they die, you don't die. You know what I mean? Like with the Interview of the Vampire and
the only
stuff,
thing they did that on Vampire Diaries, like the originals, like if whoever is the head of you, they kind of did it in True Blood too.
That makes sense. That was why there's such a pact, because they're just like, or a pack, because they're like, we have to protect.
Yeah, it was one of those things where like, you know how the concept of the originals in the Vampire Diaries now, like they're the first vampires, and they became really popular. That's why there's a spinoff called the Originals. But like they figure out that if you sired, turned, whatever, that everyone in your line would die if you died. And they didn't realize that at first. So then it became a thing of like, if we kill one of the originals, they're literally the first, like there would be so many dead vampires and we don't even know where we descend from of them. Right. So it's just interesting, because I think
that was suck, because you're just like not aware, especially if you're not around them.
Right. Like, well, right. And they're like centuries old. So it's kind of like, what? Like, I didn't even know I came from that line. But in
this lore, in this universe, that's what happened.
Right. And it's like funny though, because it feels though I thought it was going to be the same thing you're talking about, where they age immediately and you're like, dead. But for him, so he's aging there. So she's running away, and she's taking the maid with her and being like, we're leaving, and everyone's on fire. Everyone's leaving. The place is on fire. They're like in the like foyer whatever, where like and then we saw that creepy, really cool statue of the dragon, like holding a knife.
The dragon looks like it's like, I said, like,
he looks like he's like, well, would you do this to me, Joe? Like, why are you here to slay me?
Joe.
Like, he's literally like, what?
He's like, I thought we had something.
Like that thing where it's like when the night comes and it's like the princess is actually in love with the dragon and stuff. It's the whole thing. Anyway, no.
What?
There's
That's
like a Tumblr
Donkey
post
and the
like
Dragon.
that. Right, I know. Excuse me. But they basically, Victoria is after, she's never liked Evie, obviously. There's that whole, we didn't even talk about the spa scene, not besides just being the most high tension scene. I hate it when they show nails being clipped. I knew she was going to get cut.
There was a part that I really liked earlier too, when she first meets Lucy and Victoria immediately is being a bitch.
Oh, were you talking about when she's
jerk,
like, nice to meet
whatever.
you?
And then she's like, and she's like,
Sorry
every
to
time she
spoil
would
it.
cut off,
I literally was like, hey, are you talking about? And you're like, Yeah. I knew you were wanting to bring it up earlier, though.
Yeah, I didn't bring it up, but I wanted to. But she would, like...
Wait, say the whole thing, though. I didn't say it, so you say it.
Yeah, she would stand up for Lucy, because every time Lucy would be like, oh, and she's like, stop being such
Victoria would just be
she's like, don't be so eager. Like,
mean girl. Blah, blah, blah. Literally energy.
And then every time she's like, no, like, I also, like, she would acknowledge what Lucy
She would
was
always
saying.
make her feel, like,
she'd be
safe.
like, yeah, I love this, too. And she's like, oh, thanks. And then Victoria the whole time was like, you're very pretty. And then she'd, like, push her and stuff.
Yeah.
And she's like,
try to touch her
hair. Yeah.
Like, get out of here.
She's like, I'm gonna go get more champagne. She's like, it was nice to meet you, Lucy. And then she just stares at Victoria like,
excuse me. Like, she literally was like,
she's like, Lucy and Lucy only.
Lucy. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Ugh,
and then Lucy follows her and they have a nice little chat. It's so cute.
I know.
I
and
really
even in
like
spa
Lucy.
scene too, where she's like, I've always wanted a sister. And she's like, shut up, Lucy. And then she's like, I wanted a sister too. Like, she's always
no,
trying to make her feel safe.
Anyway, they have a brawl.
Oh, yeah. Literally, she's over there like...
She's like... But then who comes... Well, the maid comes and she hits Victoria in the back. And then, you know, she ends up escaping, though. And Evie's like, go get help. They're still fighting. And then Lucy comes and she defends Evie. And she scratches Victoria. And Victoria's like, what are you doing? Like, you're turning on me right now?
Which we knew was... and we didn't know it was going to happen, but we're so glad.
We're so glad.
Because Lucy was like, you don't get to tell me what to do anymore.
Yeah, she's
the
like,
Lord
no.
is gone. And you could tell she probably was just coerced this entire time to feel like she had to do this.
She's second, yeah.
She was so...
Because she's so kind, like we said, and it sucks. But you know what? Mm-hmm. I bet the one that died, the one that didn't die, the one that got taken, was taken by Lucy.
The one that got taken? What are you talking
about?
The
servant... who got taken but didn't get killed, but she was sucked on by the neck. I bet Lucy sucked on her, but she didn't kill her because that's my theory. Because she's so kind that she probably is like, I don't even want to like.
I'm just gonna like I just like taking the blood I need,
drink from her.
Which again, there's so many ways that they just
like,
also. I feel like
Emmeline, it's been done. Couldn't
Emmeline been like, I'm changing this? What if we just use blood donor situations, or what if we hired people who were in on it and we take their blood and store it up? That's what I'm saying. What the heck?
And other things, but he's not like that.
No, he's like, no, we're killing them by. Yeah. So, like,
and I doubt Lucy would have any say. I know if Emmeline and, like, Lucy...
like, ganged up and are like, we're the women of this family that you need. Like, what are you doing? But Victoria had such a... Ugh. But she's fighting, and then, Lucy does that, and they're like, ah, and then she backs her up into, like, the pole that statue has, and they both die.
I almost cried because, like, I got emotional because we're like, oh, okay, they both got impaled, so they're both, like, falling apart, but then they have like, a moment where they look at each other.
Like, sisters.
Yeah, and Victoria's like, oh, no, and she, like, went to comfort Lucy and was just like, that's Facebook.
I see.
So she went to comfort Lucy and was just like
even as they're dying, she's almost like, oh, well, no, you
like,
do,
my dear friend, like, I don't, like,
it was like a thing where it's like clearly they were in an abusive friendship, but it was like this thing of like, they clearly have been with each other for over 100 years.
Where you can tell because even Victoria earlier was like, you'll learn to love me.
I know. I feel like Victoria genuinely saw her as like a sister, and she treated her like a crummy sometimes, but she also probably was like, yeah, but you're also my sister wife, like you're my sister. So that was sad. Yeah. But also, so then they die. Then the butler comes out of nowhere with like a hatchet. I don't know what it was.
A spear.
Was it that? And he's trying. That was like upstairs. That was somewhere else, I think. Wasn't it?
It was upstairs.
Yeah. She kills him. How does she kill him? She stabs him. She stabs him because then it's. He's
like, I told him.
And
you and you brought.
He's like, I didn't like you the moment.
You're not our kind.
Yeah.
Like,
which again, he has like some type of weird superiority thing.
Yeah. Basically, again, telling her that she's not good enough. Yeah. And blah blah blah. And she's like, ew.
And then we're like, why is she still a vampire? What's going on? We find out DeVille is still alive. Old man DeVille. And he's
like,
he like is like, and we're like, there he is, and he attacks her. But she was upstairs, and she went to that place where there's the clay cutter situation.
Yeah, she grabbed
that, and we were like,
the clay cutter.
So he's over there like, you think you can do all this? Like, Victoria even says that. He's like, I do 1,000 years.
He's like lifting her up by her neck.
All this stuff. Her hands are free because he's holding her like this, and she takes the clay cutter and which she like started gagging after she did that because she was like, that was disgusting.
I thought she was gagging, but then I remembered she was being choked. Okay. I thought she was gagging too, and then I was like, wait.
She made it look like she was repulsed at that, which I'm like, you've seen a lot tonight. Was that the one thing that really, okay.
She cuts his hand off, and then oh my God, it was beautiful.
Kicks him the most, it was like a This Is Sparta.
It was like, this is Sparta.
It was genuinely a This Is Sparta kick.
She's like,
kicks him into the fire slowly.
He starts burning.
As he's burning, she shifts back into being a human.
And then it's just like zoomed in on her face, and she's just watching it with like, she's like, yeah,
bring it down, bring it down,
bring it, let it burn.
It's like almost reminded me of Black Christmas, where like they're like set fire to the fraternity thing, and then at the end she's just like, that burn. Movie. I know a lot of things, many things, but we think it doesn't end there, but it shows human. Then it shows 2 weeks later.
The way that she walks out of the mansion.
Right. And it's
just like slow-mo, badass moment.
You won.
Being like...
And without any, like, you won and you didn't have, like, you're going to have trauma from it, but there was no lasting, like...
Yeah, damage.
She doesn't have to live with being a vampire.
She really gambled being like, I'm going to turn into a vampire. I know,
that was a shock.
Whatever happens,
I didn't think they were going to do that.
I feel like she was going to
dupe it and be like, I'll pretend to suck, or like, I didn't think she would... I didn't think she would turn into a vampire until she sucked his blood too, or vice versa.
Too.
So I was like, dang, she must have...
I guess, like, yeah, it wasn't final, but...
Either way,
but she really needed to. Otherwise, she would have, as a human, she wouldn't have been able to like fight.
You're right. She did it real. She literally. I was like, good. She became the powerful monster that she needed to become.
Like she said, she threw caution to the wind, and she was like, "I'm gonna do this,"
because she's remembering what her friend and mom said.
They're like, "You're strong," but also, yeah, because she was like, I feel like in her heart, she was like, I need to bring these people down.
And also, she remembered Emmeline saying it ends with me.
It ends with me.
Or she had a moment of thinking, I don't know, she didn't see that, so I don't know why.
She had a dream where she heard her say that.
And we knew, like, and then that's why she's almost, I think, willing to say, if this kills me, that's fine.
Because she's like, if I go down, I'm taking all of them down.
I'm taking all of them with me.
I would rather die.
It ends with me.
Than be part of this, but I would rather take all of them down with me. And I'm like...
And then, but the fact that she didn't have to die for it, like, it was just such a powerful, that's how you write women taking over, like, their abusers of just being like, I mean, that's a delicate subject, but like, this kind of concept of them just being awful to her, like, that's how she takes them down without it being like, oh, no, she has to suffer too. It's like, not long, like, she gets to walk away, and then we see the 2 weeks later in London. We're like, in London still, what?
Right.
Her friend is there. She's there with like a new hairstyle situation. She mentions it. She's like, you look
She's like, I love this look on you.
She's like, I know, I look good. And it's cute because she's like, what? We go in there and she's like, you're afraid you're gonna turn into a sidekick? And she's like, please, I've always been your sidekick. Like Evie says that, and I was like,
and then her friend holds her
precious,
hand.
and she's like, anyway, what are we gonna do? We're gonna, because we see that Oliver's walking into the realtor, like they're realtors or something.
Survived the fire.
Yeah, a lot of the family members I feel like did.
Died.
I don't know. A lot of them just like ran out, and like none of them they're mortal. Like he says on the phone too, like she's mortal. We don't have to worry about it. It's fine. It's like, bro.
But they were clearly looking for her.
I know they're probably trying to find her, but they're also like, you don't need to be afraid of her. Like she's like, maybe if they're searching for her, you don't need to. And so they're like, what are we gonna do? Go in there and like beat him up or something? But or like also take him out? Like, are they killing him?
She's like, all right, let's go. And then her friend just randomly has a bat. She's like, what? Where'd you get that?
And she's like
it's ironic, isn't it? A bat, vampire,
bat.
And then it ends.
And we're like, man, I wanted to see her take.
We're like,
we stayed for a after credit scene. We're like, no, nothing. It's fine. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
I'm just on Keanu Reeves on my page.
I somehow have stumbled upon.
And then it ends. Let me say, I had a great time watching this movie. I disagree with the critics. I do not think this is a 20%.
The one thing, though, we were going to bring up, though, I think that the pacing of it helps it a lot. It helps it a lot, but it also, to the detriment,
have changed,
for sure. To the detriment of not getting us enough info and backstory that I feel like I would have loved to have heard, because I liked these characters.
Yeah.
And I liked the setup. So I wanted to know more about like life. What did life look like, even if it's just a quick flashback to Lucy and Victoria living with him over the years, like you know what I mean, like showing them change throughout, like just real quickly.
It just where it's like, don't just tell but show. Like give us like while even if it's a flash,
like just a quick, like you don't need much set for
but
it,
I feel like we always want more backstory, and maybe to cut out some of the romance, not the romance, but like
but it did help
that. But it helped because otherwise
convince us so much that they liked each other.
Yeah.
And he was
That's true. It's not
really
that I
would
have just cut it out just to cut it out, or even have just added it and had it be a little bit of a longer,
or just like even have him say more stuff that, well, we wouldn't know though. That I just wanted to, because the only things we get of hints of their relationship is like, it makes it seem like he dated Victoria. And that's why she's like, what did she tell you about?
It definitely seems like she's like
an ex, where she's like, he didn't tell you about me. And she's Evie's so mature.
Is he 500 years old? Like, were they older? Like...
I feel like Evie's so mature about it too, because like even when they're at the spa, she's like trying to like coax her into being like, she's like, did Walt tell you about our past? And she's like, no, he doesn't need to. And she's like, unless if it's something important, he'll tell me. If it's not, why do I need to know? And she's like, everyone needs to know about. And it's like, she's being so mature, being like, I don't care what you had with him. Like, it doesn't matter if you're not current. Like what the heck? And I just feel like I wanted to know more of like what that relationship looks like. What is it like? Just in general, the lore of the vampire, like you were saying, like. How do they have
like more about them that would make them different? And it's like, yeah, we all know about vampires and we know about Dracula, I suppose.
But what are their rules? They only allude of like, there's many misconceptions about us.
Yeah.
Okay, but
yeah, because Lucy does say that. She's like, don't worry, you'll be able to go out during the day.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like,
which obviously, because we saw him during the day.
Right, but I'm like, so then what else? Like, do you sparkle?
What else?
Like, what?
Do you sparkle?
I want to know. You know?
But I had a good time.
I had a great time. I thought it was fun. It gave Ready or Not vibes, but honestly, it was even more like of a story as opposed to like a thriller constantly. Like it felt like a spooky gothic horror. Yeah. I felt like it was got like a very the vibes were there. I liked the atmosphere. I liked it.
I liked it too.
I liked it.
I think maybe add what we said to add, and other than that,
and obviously it's still like it didn't have as much of like an impactful theme. Like I wish they'd done more with it. That could have made it more.
It wasn't like it didn't really twist Dracula on its head at all, which I feel like a lot of the time when you have a vampire thing, you're like, but then again, it's like I almost feel like vampire things, except for Twilight, with some of the things there, I feel like a lot of the time the vampire things that I watch, they modernize them maybe, but they're very like old world, and they're always very rooted in their like history, and so they don't really like, I don't want to say that they don't adapt or change, because they do, but I always feel like they're so like traditional that's how they always have vampires and things. You know what I mean? Like, are there other ones that you feel like really changed up the way that vampires are, besides having them be like modern, right? Yeah, obviously they have to adapt. But I feel like they never really go, well, this is like crazy different.
I did like I wanted to cover it, the Daybreakers, the one with Ethan Hawke. That one.
We have to watch that because
it's basically about how they take over the world, because it's like too many. Well, that's the premise.
Okay.
It's like everyone's a vampire, and it's like, well, now we have to farm humans for blood. But then it's like the whole line in the trailers, Ethan Hawke being like, what happens when we run out of the very last drop? Like, what do we do? Because when vampires, the whole concept is that when vampires don't get blood, they turn into these like inhuman type of things. So he's like, we're all going to turn into this and kill each other. Yeah. And so it's this whole thing where the world is now living at night and they can't go at it. It's just so interesting. So that was a cool concept.
You know? That's different.
But you're right.
But I'm not to say that, well, other ones aren't groundbreaking and they're still good, because I'm just saying,
I feel like more so I wish that this movie had talked more about like the whole theme of like class and like classism and like racism within classism and like all this stuff, which it doesn't like not talk about it, but it does. I think it could have taken it from being
like hints at it and talks about it a little bit.
I think it could have gone more in depth. Make it more memorable, because I feel like I liked this movie a lot, but I don't know if it's gonna stay with me the way other movies that I love will. Like, I won't be thinking about it for a long time. Do you know what I'm saying? It was so much fun, but I'm not going to be like, wow, that changed. Like, not life-changing, but like...
I think that, obviously, something that's big is, like, rewatch value. I would
rewatch it, honestly,
I would.
Them too. They were just
right.
like, I want to watch
like, we're watching
it
for more of, like... This is a vampire love story, but it's not just that.
Let me look up some fanfic where everything's okay. Where he
I guess because it's like the story of them.
Yeah.
And not so much what makes them
vampires. Like they could not be vampires, and I would still be interested in their everything.
Their story.
Yeah. That's true.
Because it's like, we don't really have to be like, let's turn vampires on their head. But it's like, they are vampires. But anyway, besides that, this is the story of them, these three families, these three wives, blah, blah, blah. But, yeah, you're right. Could have been more memorable. Could have been.
But anyways, shall we get into the ratings?
Yes.
Let's see.
All right. Scary scale. From lowest to highest. Alone in the dark. Night light. Cover your eyes and grab a friend. Under the covers. And broad daylight.
I could watch this alone in the dark.
Yeah, me too.
It was very much more of a gothic horror thing.
Definitely an alone in the dark. Yeah.
There were some creepy jump scare things, but I wouldn't
said this was a horror movie.
No, yeah, and it wouldn't linger with me. Like if that happened,
it's more like a monster.
Like when I see a jump scare, I wouldn't be like, oh well, now I've got to look in the corners of my room. I just be like,
that was a few times.
Yeah, like it shocked me sometimes, but it was never like, ooh, I'm going to be thinking of that image now and I can't look away from other stuff. Yeah. So Alone in the Dark.
Same. Overall rating. I need to change this on here. Lowest to highest we have Dusty, straight to DVD, airplane movie, stream it, plan your night around it, or life changing.
Now see, given everything I said where I really like it, and I know I keep giving this rating, but I'm gonna say stream it. I'm sorry. Mostly because I just feel like it was a really fun movie. But again, personally, I don't think it'll be something that I'm like, this movie's so good, I need you to watch this. Like, you need to make a moment and take time to watch it. It's more of just like, listen, you want a fun night? You want a really fun time? I would recommend this movie because it's like... I think
it's more like if somebody's like, oh, I heard about that movie, I'd be like, oh, that's good, you should watch it.
Yeah, it's like, it was cute. I thought that was fun. Like, that was...
but I really like it at the same time.
I think maybe you liked it more than me then, which is fine.
I really like it.
Yeah.
But I think I also think stream it.
Maybe we're on different ends of the stream it.
Maybe.
But again, I don't dislike it.
I'm not saying that because obviously plan your night around it. I just always think we're going to have a party. Yeah. And we're going to have plates that are vampire themed.
Right,
and we're going to blah, blah, blah.
This is a
Lord
Lord of the Rings
I want to do that with
night.
anything.
This is a whatever night. We're going to eat pizza and watch Lord of the Rings.
We're going to do that after this.
Anyway.
The first episode
3 a.m. Anyway, the first two were available.
The first 2 episodes.
First 2 are...
It's midnight. No.
It's
2?
The first 2
They
episodes.
dropped 2 at once?
Yeah, at once. I know.
Okay,
Anyways.
But anyway, yeah, I could plan a night around anything pretty much.
That's fair. But the thing is that, like, I just think I wouldn't hype it up to being like this movie that's like, you've got to see that. It's so good. It's on whatever, Netflix. You need to watch it.
Yeah, somebody asked, I would recommend it.
I'd be more
but I
like,
wouldn't go out of my way to recommend it.
That was fun. I really liked all of them in that. Like, that was fun.
Yeah.
I just think maybe the reason it's not getting as many reviews is because it doesn't, not just the turning on its head thing, but also just like, there's nothing that if you're thinking about it, there's not a specific scene that's going to pop out to you and be like, oh, like in Ready or Not, it was iconic. Again, they're not the same, but like
Ready or Not is life-changing for me.
It was like very dynamic. That's what I'm saying.
Then,
it was very dynamic.
Yeah.
It had so much to it, and I feel like this didn't have what it could have had to have like a very like impactful thing, but it was still good. And also I feel like, again, we really liked the love story aspect. Like they just did a good job with that for me, half of why I'd rewatch it is because I'm like, I want to feel cozy,
right?
I want to be wooed.
I want to literally I'm watching this and now I'm at a point in my life where I'm just like kind of like, I don't know, tense when I think of a relationship, but I'm watching this and I was like, maybe I want to be. No,
what I say when they were dancing, I'm
and
like,
I know that it's not going to end well.
They started dancing, and I was just like, oh, to be held. Like
Sarah's like, to be held.
You're like, I'm like literally,
and I'm literally like maybe over
yeah. Stevie's like, do I like men? As if like, no, like literally, like
I am pansexual, but
like every day you're like
towards women.
You're like
every day I'm like, do I even like men?
You're like, wait a minute.
And then I watch this and I'm like.
You're like,
for the first 2/3, you had me there.
Yeah, no, you got me there.
You
like
got me there.
Literally,
But then I got the ick.
Yeah, but
then when I watch it again at the beginning,
he was an
I'll
ickful
bring
person.
It back.
Yeah,
I'll bring it back. I'll have it again.
It was like, I mean, literally, it was like I'm like I would be a vampire for him.
You literally were like, I mean,
before we had the details,
if he needed me to vampire, I would be.
I would be like, it was when they were in the little shed area, not shed, but that little place.
When they were lying down, and he's
was that when it was? Okay, I'm like multiple times I thought this, but like it was like every time I'm like, listen, what are we in? You would never be in want, you know? I mean. Anyway, I do believe deep down
better. I feel like if he was a better
that would have been an interesting.
If he was like, listen, I have to do this.
If this was a show, it would have been cool to explore him like that because again, that moment where she's falling asleep,
he could have changed.
He sounded so authentic. She was like asleep, and he's saying, "I would have changed." Remember,
she could have changed.
That there's a Tumblr post I saw where it was like, I can change him this, I can make him work, or I can make him worse that. And it was like, me, I'm gonna love him so much it'll change the whole narrative of the story, okay? And it was like, that's me. Or
me?
It's that or I don't want it. It's like, I need to unhinge my jaw and swallow him all. In a very, which I feel like people will take that as something else. And I'm like, it's not.
You're like, no, I mean, literally, like Kirby.
I need to consume him. I need to consume Kirby. His being.
But don't turn Kirby that person. But don't turn into them, you know, not like that.
I can't. But here's the thing. What was it we were saying?
No, but I know what you mean, where it's just kind of like.
He had a moment where I literally felt like he was genuinely saying that, and he didn't even do it for the purpose of tricking her. And it just felt like he was kind of like, it's almost like when evil people who are clearly humans at this, like, I mean, humans, you know, clearly they have feelings. I feel like I always love it, even if they're despicable. I love seeing a villain not just have a tragic backstory, like, but truly have well, that too, but even just have moments of like, evil people can be nice and actually have good feelings
like
about
when they're
stuff.
Like kind to a child,
or stuff like that, or even when they're just like you know how they'll say evil people aren't capable of love and stuff, and I'm like, sometimes I'm like, I don't know,
but
like,
sometimes I feel like they do things because
of love, which again,
and it's like
me, that's hot, but only not when they're doing but it's like there's a lot of times like, where I'm like, you know, their love might be not great because they're not a great person, but it's like I do feel like they can have, unless they're a sociopath or not a sociopath, like a psychopath who can't feel a certain way. I just feel like there's a lot of parts like, so my point is that I feel like in his head he's like, this is what I really wanted, but like, look where we're at, whatever. Like, I just feel like he genuinely probably was
kind of like, I bet, because again, if they had explored it more and were like, he was like, I need this protection, and in order to protect myself, I'm going to have these 3 families, and I'm going to pitch this to them, and now this is my life, because otherwise I would be run out of town and killed. Something.
Like, it's kind of like, the whole old Dracula story, Castlevania. Like, literally, maybe his first wife was literally murdered, who knows, by the townsfolk. It's just this whole thing. Where's Alucard? I don't know. There's just a whole... I just like it when they explore that. So, and not that I don't think this movie could have done that
as a show.
Yeah.
Maybe
I will never tire of vampire
series.
shows. Yeah. A limited. No, I'm saying I will never tire.
Yeah, I know. Me neither.
Yeah.
Oh, again,
okay. You're like, I'm with you. Yeah.
Because First Kill,
a limited series
of this.
Cover First Kill. We should. A limited series of this would have been really good. Like just a 6 episode.
I think it would have been better.
Wow. Look at
I think it would have been better, for sure. But anyway,
I agree.
Guys, thank you for being here with us.
We love you. We liked this movie. We
liked it.
Listen,
maybe we should just turn it to liked it, loved it.
Liked it, loved it, gotta leave it. First
love
off,
it or list
Thomas Doherty. Dang, okay, whatever.
Guys,
whatever. We're gonna watch Descendants now.
Yeah, right.
Again.
And Lord of the Rings.
But also, well, we're legitimately gonna watch Lord of the Rings.
We're
gonna watch Lord of the Rings.
But yeah, guys, Dust Bunnies, thank you for being here. Thank you. If you guys wanna
give it to him. Give it to him.
If you guys if you could leave us a 5-star rating, leave us a review. It really helps. Thumbs up. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. From Under the Bed, of course. And although if you look up our podcast on YouTube, if you're not watching it on YouTube right now, you have to say From Under the Bed podcast in order to find us, because if you just do From Under the Bed, it's like, it's some creepy stuff.
I could see why that's the case. I'm not blaming that. Yeah.
If you're listening and you want to watch us, and if you want to suggest a movie for us, you can contact us on our website, FromUnderTheBedPodcast.com. There's a contact form. You can email at us. Why do I do that every time? Email at us.
From Under the Bed at us.
FromUnderTheBedPodcast@gmail.com. Follow our Insta, From Under the Bed. Twitter, FUTB Podcast. And our TikTok is From Under the Bed Pod.
One day, all of these will probably be synced up. Like
I could probably change them, honestly,
but not yet.
Go back through.
But not yet.
Some of them
take a minute.
I couldn't.
Only a minute.
But I'm sure I
No. Yeah, but like even if we had to make one not like longer, like you know what I mean.
The
if it
Twitter
was
one has to be FUTB podcast. It can't be longer. But I bet I can change.
We'll look into it. But until then, take note.
Yeah.
You know,
like this is from, as we say, making the bed content, which is our behind the scenes.
Listen, how does the bed get made?
How does the bed get made?
We'll never know. Well, now you will.
We'll know. Yeah. But anyway, anyway, thanks guys.
Thanks for being here. We hope you go see The Invitation, because honestly, we recommend it. It's fun. It's fun. We had a great time.
Good.
Love is real until it's not.
Listen.
It's fine.
It's always a question of whether or not love.
It's literally the quote. But love is what?
Love is out there.
No, oh my gosh, no, love is out there. Yeah. But you got to be wary of.
Be careful.
Be careful. What was the? I'm calling Scotland Yard her friend.
Oh yeah.
What was the thing? Well, I liked it. Oh, from El Dorado.
Well, I liked.
Well, he's like, that's your plan. Yeah. Well, I like it. And he's like,
well, I like it.
Beautiful. We love you guys. Thank you.